Hey guys, so it finally happened. We have to have a skip week. I'm sorry about that, but we still have something coming out for you. It's me and Chuck talking about the horror movies In a Violent Nature and The Watchers. Hope you guys like it, and if not, I'm sorry. We'll be back next week.
Hello, welcome to a different thing, a movie review, two movie reviews with me and Chuck Staton.
Yeah, buddy, how you doing?
I'm good. So, background on why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We really didn't have anything not recorded where we could work Chuck in, and we're here to promote his live show.
I appreciate it, buddy. You guys are. I'm a big fan of reviewing history. I'm a supporter of all the guys. I love it, and I'm happy to see it. I feel bad. I just told Rupert the other day. I was like, I feel so bad because I haven't seen the movies, so I don't watch every episode. I don't listen to every episode.
You and everybody else.
But I love it. I love that you're doing it. I think it's fun. I think we kind of started reviewing history and Funbearable around the same time.
Very close,
and it's a very similar side thing with Tell 'em Steve Dave and a lot of the fans that are kind of supportive of everything. And me and you are both getting more involved on camera with Tell 'em Steve Dave. So it's been kind of a fun little growth thing.
I like it.
I think it's awesome. I've been on reviewing history one time. You've been on Funbearable one time, right?
I want you back soon, and I hope you have me back soon.
Oh, we want to do a versus episode.
I want to do a crossover.
We want to do a games episode. But yeah, so Funbearable is my podcast with comedian Ray Harrington, improv player Brad Rohr. It's a lot of fun. It's very silly. It's a creative playground.
If you love our banana talk, you'll love their hot dog talk. Do you know how Anthony eats a banana?
No.
It's fucking bizarre.
Oh, I do know how he eats it. He takes it completely out of the peel, right?
And he holds it raw in his hand.
Disgusting.
Right?
What about the germs?
It's fucking bizarre.
No, that's disgusting. I can't abide by that. But we do a very silly show. We do a bit called Pitch Doctors where we rewrite movies from our point of view and a lot of creative stuff like that based around pop culture. And we're doing our 100th episode. It's going to be live at the Comedy Connection in East Providence, Rhode Island on Sunday, July 21st. So if you're around New England, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and you want to come on out to the Comedy Connection. Go to funbearablepod.com for tickets or to check out the podcast. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, it's Sunday, July 21st. Tickets will be available there. And if you want to check out Rupert's episode, it was a great one. It was a Pitch Doctors. Dude, it was a Pitch Doctors. But the idea was that it's any Christmas special. And we do this once a year right around Christmas. And Ruppert brought in the Star Trek original series Christmas special idea. And it was fucking killer. It was awesome.
I tied it into canon if you're a Star Trek person.
Yeah. I did a new metal Christmas album.
I love that.
And I wrote the Ball with the Ball. I rewrote that as a Christmas song. What did Ray bring to the table?
Ray did Indiana Jones Christmas. And we were kind of all like spitballing.
That's right. And what did Brad do? I don't know if I'm gonna remember that one.
That
was an original. It was an original movie ID
starring you three. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So we do a lot of fun stuff with pop culture, and the live show is gonna be awesome. Sunday, July 21st. I've said it 3 times now. So funbearablepod.com. Check out all this stuff.
And we'll say it at the end. But if you clicked this, we're gonna review 2 horror movies that me and Chuck saw together.
Yeah. A lot of times Rupert will hit me up and be like, "Hey, come see this movie," and I think me and you are really similar about movies.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh, you want to see it? Like, it'll send me the trailer. I'm like, I don't even need to see the trailer. I'll just go. And we saw Barbarian that way, which I thought was fucking awesome.
Barbarian was I think that was like maybe my first or second favorite movie the year it came out.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. I've watched it, I've shown it to several people since then, and I've watched it a bunch of times.
Isn't that the best when you find this fucking weird movie and you're like, just check this fucking thing out, and you show it to people?
And Barbarian is perfect for that. And if people that are watching haven't seen it, if you like horror at all, for a fucking ride, go see Barbarian because it's awesome. But whenever you hit me up for that, I'm just like, I don't need to see a trailer. I'm down to go. And we did that recently with 2
both
movies.
Of these, right?
Yeah, both of these. I mean, I knew about the concept of one of them, but I was like, yeah, I'm in. And we'll
start with that one. So the first movie we went to see was In a Violent Nature.
Yes.
And I was running late to the theater, so I missed the first maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I was like crazy texting you exactly what was happening. I'm like, the man wakes up, and I was explaining it. And kind of the loose pitch that I got was from you and from reading about it was this is essentially a Friday the 13th movie from the point of view of Jason.
Yeah.
And the the perspective stays with him the entire movie. And obviously it's a generic version of Jason. It's not the actual Friday the 13th
It's knockoff
series.
Jason.
It's knockoff Jason.
But like in your head, you could easily just replace the name and you're like, okay, this is a Jason Staton.
I think his name was even Johnny.
It's Johnny.
Yeah, exactly.
They know exactly what they're doing with the lore and the name, the way it's shot. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And I was in for that because I love all the Friday the 13th movies. I love all that kind of shit and stuff. But yeah, so I don't know if you want to start with exactly how to go through this.
So yeah, it's basically what the movie is it's a Jason movie, essentially, from Jason's point of view.
Yes.
Now, that may seem very exciting, but it's almost like, I think I said it to you the second the movie was over. I was like, Friday the 13th, the movie, the game.
Yeah, exactly. And I liked Friday the Friday the 13th game.
Yeah.
I did like it, and I liked the idea of like when you played that game, most of the people would be like survivors that were trying to like victims getting away from Jason.
Yeah, whatever.
But someone was always Jason. And so you got to be in a first person or a third person game of playing Jason and trying to hunt people down, which means a lot of sneaking around in the shadows and following people around, right?
Yeah.
And that's what this movie largely was going to be based on, which I was ready for. And by the way, I think some people out there have like short attention spans and they're not ready to get immersed in something quiet like that. But I'm totally down. The Paranormal Activity series, I think, demands some of that attention.
I think so, where you're like looking at a static shot of a room and you're like, did that pan move?
Yeah, and you gotta not be the person that's like, oh, I'm bored for 2 seconds. Let me look at my phone for a minute. Let me look like you have to not be like that.
And I think seeing this in a theater does help.
Me too.
Because I think if you're alone in your house and you're watching this, I think you're going to end up looking at your phone at some point.
Me too, exactly. I think Paranormal Activity is like that. I think Quiet Place is a little bit like that, especially the newest one I just saw. So I was ready to do that, and I did pay attention to every second that he's fucking trotting through the woods and going
very slowly paced.
Very slowly paced, which I'm fine with. And I think that that's appropriate for this project. But do you want to go through the story a little bit?
I guess. I mean, as much as we can.
I know.
So you should start the beginning because I missed the first 10 minutes.
So we're going spoiler full, right?
Yeah. If you're watching this, go, he already plugged his shit. So
yeah.
Go watch the movies and then come back, or we'll just tell you what happens.
I do think they're both out on digital.
I think they both hit like the other day.
Yeah, they both hit the other day. So they should be up. So you can watch them. And honestly, I think especially with In a Violent Nature, you can hear a synopsis and you should still go watch it.
It's one of those things where it's like, if you've seen a Friday the 13th movie, you know what this is.
Exactly. And so basically what happens is the movie starts, it's letterbox, which means it's a square, not widescreen like a normal
that was
movie.
something that I wasn't expecting when I went to see it. It's shot 4:3.
Right, which I think is kind of fun.
Yeah, I think it makes it more intimate.
I think so too.
I think it also helps because so much of the movie is directly basically behind Johnny the killer.
Yeah.
That I think it makes it a more tight image.
I agree with that. And I also would like to say up front, I think they did a great job of recreating the aesthetic of like those like 80s summer slasher movies. You know what I mean? Even in terms of the film grain and everything. So it opens, you don't see anybody. You see like a random shot of like a fucking pole in the ground, like a metal pole with a necklace on it. And essentially what happens is you hear some people talking and it's like, yeah, grab the necklace. Someone takes the necklace off it. You hear them walk away, some humans, you don't see them. You don't know who they are. And then the pole starts to shake a little bit and a person rises from the ground as if they were buried. And it's not dramatic. It's not shot like scary. It's kind of shot matter of factly.
This is just something happening.
It's like it was shot for Friday the 13th Part 2 or something like that. And that person is obviously the Jason stand-in. You could tell by his frame. You could tell by the way he walks and the way he breathes. And essentially, he walks out to a clearing. He walks up to a house. He goes into the house as there's two people around the house, but they just happen to not see him. He goes inside. Someone catches him and he turns around and follows that guy into the woods very slowly. He's about to kill him in the woods, and then it cuts back into the house. He's in there insinuating he killed the guy, and he's back in the house now. And he looks in a mirror, and this is the part that you didn't see.
Yeah.
And in the mirror, he kind of remembers himself as a child, and his dad says, "Hey, this is your mother's necklace. Like this was, this is something you can have of hers." And you kind of get the insinuation that she died, and this is a thing that he has that's her last thing or whatever.
It's like the Mrs. Voorhees like sweater that Jason keeps or whatever. Yeah.
It's identical to something like that. And in the house, and so the fact that it's like, okay, well, someone took a necklace off a pole that he was under. Clearly, this is the necklace. In the house, he goes and sees a necklace, and he reaches for it, and he turns it around, and it says "badass motherfucker" or something on it, and he realizes it's not the necklace. So he puts the necklace down, and he starts walking outside of the house, and you can kind of tell this is where it's like, okay, he's looking for the necklace that was on the pole that kept him underground, and I think then we're probably introduced to like this group of teens that are going into the woods.
And the way you're introduced to them is, because this is kind of where I came in,
Yes.
is from Johnny watching them have like their, campfire get together, I guess.
Essentially, it becomes nighttime. He's walking through the woods, and it slowly gets dark. He comes upon a
and
campfire.
when we say walking through the woods, we mean it's slowly walking through the
Yeah.
woods. Like 5-minute static shot of a dude walking through the woods.
Yeah, barely walk. I wouldn't even know if I'd call it walking.
Plotting.
Yeah, exactly. So he kind of sees them, and they're talking, and you could tell it's like they're going camping, they're friends, they're making fun of each other. And I don't think it's made super clear in this initial shot, but he remembers it later. One of the guys has the necklace, and he's going to give it to his girlfriend or something, right?
Yeah, I think it's like he puts it around her neck or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, if you want to take it from here, it's a pretty simplistic story.
Yeah. So basically what happens is like the counselors are hanging out.
Yeah.
Johnny plods through the woods slowly, and he picks them off. And like, there's one kill in particular, which anybody who has seen this movie raves about. It's the highlight of the movie.
Yeah.
It's almost like they made the movie just for this.
I know.
We obviously can't show it,
Yeah.
but if you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about. There's a brutal kill where he basically pulls someone's head through their fucking stomach.
Yeah. It's a woman facing away from him. And I don't remember exactly how he kills her in the first place.
I think it's like a hook.
Yeah. And then, but eventually she's bending forward, and he reaches through he pulls her head through her stomach somehow. And it is like a fun, it reminds me of an old Friday the 13th movie, where it's a combination of gore and like gore that's so crazy that it's silly.
Like when Jason punches the guy's head off in Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yeah, it's and even a little bit more like, oh, there's entrails and stuff like that, like the Tom Savini stuff that people were psyched for, And it's definitely a reference to all that stuff, and a great example of like a new way to play with that's over the top and fun.
And the Terrifier movies do that too, where they have just like a shitload of gore.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah,
it's like a modern version of that. That's the highlight of the movie. And there's a lot of bloodless kills too, where you kind of don't see what's happening.
Yeah, exactly. Probably to save money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he drowns a couple people and stuff like that. Eventually he's murdering everybody, basically. It's kind of very simple. There's a lot of time spent. Like if you cut out all the walking in the woods, the movie is probably like 45 minutes being generous, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, and eventually, it's funny too, because even the kills sometimes are fucking long, and not even like he's killing them, but it's like, it's just taking a long time. Like he gets someone, and he puts him in like a wood.
Hold on, before we get there.
Yeah.
All right, so this is one of my favorite things in the movie is like, eventually we're introduced to this new character who's kind of like the Tommy Jarvis of this world. Like he's encountered this Johnny character before and has experience with him.
And he's like a wildlife marshal, let's say,
exactly,
or something like that.
And it's like it kind of explains the lore to the two main characters
within 3 sentences.
And what I love about it is like, you're coming. It's like, imagine if like you never saw Friday the 13th and you're just watching like part 6.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And we should say, before it does get to that part where the guy explains it to the characters, Johnny, the killer, overhears at the campfire them being like, you ever hear about the crazy campfire killer? And they're like, no, tell us about the crazy campfire killer. And he's like, well, it was this little kid, and his dad was part of the firemen's team or something. And he was annoying to the other firemen, so they told him to go up on this high rise of some kind, and there were toys up there. And then one of the firemen scared him with like an old school fireman's mask, which is kind of creepy, and he fell off and died. And then it's kind of ambiguous, but they're just like, the dad was pissed. They didn't believe that it was an accident. They had a big fight, and then the next day at lunch, it was so weirdly explained. They say the next day at lunch, everyone was found dead. Some people say it was the food was poisoned, and in my head, I'm like, if the implication is that he killed them, how could people think it was poison? You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, he's pulling people's heads with their stomach. Like, what happened at this thing? Like, a little bit more description
Maybe
would
he's
be
just
helpful.
a bad cook.
Yeah, maybe he is. Maybe it was. Maybe it was poison.
It's like,
maybe
you ever
what he
see
did.
that scene in Seinfeld where Frank Costanza is in Korea and he cooks
Yeah,
badly?
yeah, exactly. Maybe it's that.
Yeah.
So you do get that background, and you're like, okay, I guess that's his origin story. And at some point, he does go into like one of the fucking cabins,
Like a museum almost.
like a museum of the history of that forest, and he finds a similar old school fireman's mask that's made of leather that's kind of creepy, and he puts it on.
That's his Jason mask.
That's his Jason mask. And so so the wildlife marshal, it's really funny because Jason's Johnny. Yeah, exactly. Johnny's picking off people, and at one point, a guy just shows up with a shotgun and takes him down. And they're like, "Oh God, thank God he's dead." And it's the wildlife marshal. He's like, "He's not dead." he's like, "I've dealt with this before. What you got to do is bury him in these specific leaves and dirt. Put a pole on top and put his mother's necklace on it."
That's what I did the last time.
That's
this
what I did the
happened.
last time. Yeah. And it is funny to treat it like an annoying thing as opposed
Yeah.
to like, this is a real problem.
Every couple of years, this guy's getting out.
It's almost like we have ants. That's what
Yeah.
it sounds like. It's like, well, last time we had to get the traps and the glue and the whatever. That's how he's talking
We
about
got a
it.
Jason loose.
Yeah, exactly. So, and they're just hanging out and talking about it. And he's like, he really is kind of playing it like that. He's not scared.
No,
But
he's annoyed. He's like, I gotta fucking deal with this shit now.
I gotta say, this is my favorite part of the movie, though.
Me too.
When the gun thing,
Yeah.
it's my favorite part because I think it's so bizarre.
The movie also knows what it is a lot of times, and it steers into the black comedy elements
I
where
agree.
like, I don't know about you, but I was laughing out loud in the theater a couple times.
Me too. This part was my favorite part.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, what do they want to do that they have this? They have to get close to
They
him.
want to get close to him and handcuff him or put chains around him.
yes. And so the wildlife guy's like, all right.
He's holding the shotgun.
No,
on
he
him.
tells the other guy to take the
Yes,
shotgun. I think.
that's it.
He takes the shotgun that he just shot him with, and that Jason is on the ground, and he gives it to another guy. He goes, all right, hold it on him. And the guy's holding it on him. He goes, all right, you ready? I'm gonna put chains on him. 1, 2, and then Jason reaches up and takes the shotgun away.
No, it's because if you remember, so he has the shotgun on him, and the other guy is supposed to put the chains,
Okay.
and the other guy gets scared, and he's
Okay.
like, "Let's switch."
Oh,
So as they're switching, the second they're about to switch, Jason pops up, Johnny, whatever, and he grabs the gun.
And it's all done in one shot, so it really highlights how stupid these two people are.
Yeah.
And so he takes it.
Because they get it, they're walking closer as they're
I was
doing it.
like, you're not even gonna back up to do this thing. And also, the girl has the necklace on. She knows she just got a necklace from the boyfriend. The boyfriend knows he took it from the pole. Wouldn't you be like, let's put the necklace on him so that he's no longer after us, regardless of what we decide to do. Let's give him the necklace back so that we're not a target of his. But no, she's like, I'll keep it, I guess, which is fucking bananas. So he grabs the wildlife marshal guy and he puts him in this weird wood cutting thing.
Yeah, it's like some sort of mechanical log splitter, I guess.
Yes.
That just keeps like going up.
And it's very slow.
Yeah.
And he puts the guy in it, and the guy's like blinking a lot. It's so
It's like
weird.
a 10-minute brutal sequence that is so long and gory it veers into black comedy.
Yes.
And there's
exactly.
another sequence like that which we skipped over where I think he's hitting someone with a hammer.
This is at the end.
It's
I
at the
think.
end,
This is the
okay.
last one. So at this point, there's kind of two people left, two victims.
Yeah.
The guy who took the necklace and his girlfriend who has the necklace. So I think they want to set him on fire because she has a gas
Yeah, I
can.
think that's the plan.
And he catches the guy and he starts, I don't know if he's hitting him with a blunt object or stabbing him. I don't remember, but he's just doing it. I'm not kidding. It was like 4 minutes of straight, just like hitting or stabbing. And the girl's just watching and you just hear it.
I was laughing my fucking ass off in the theater.
It was crazy. And she has the necklace on. It's kind of highlighted. You can see it. And then eventually she takes the necklace off and just puts it on the gas can and runs. And she runs away. It follows her through the woods. Very ominous. We're like, okay,
Yep.
where is he? Where is he? Where is he? It turns to day. She comes out in the street. A woman in a pickup truck stops. That seems like a crazy old woman.
Yep.
Very
And
similar.
you're thinking like, I'm like, oh, is this going to be a twist? She's with Johnny somehow or...
Yep. And so she gets in the truck and it's shot really weird, like weirdly close to them. And the woman starts telling all these like stories
Animal
and
attack
and
stories.
all this stuff. I mean, there's one part where I guess it's supposed to be that this person she knew was attacked by Johnny, but they didn't even know it.
She calls it a
She
bear.
thinks it was a bear. Where I'm like, well, he's not biting people. So what happened in that situation? And it goes on for a long time.
It's like 15, 20 minutes of the two of them in the car alone.
It's a long time. It's a long time. And you're like, okay, just like you, I'm like, is she part of it? Is he going to reach? And eventually she goes like, listen, are you okay? Are you okay? To the girl. And the girl's like, I'm okay. And the woman's like, I got to dress your wounds. Hold on. And she pulls over right next to the woods. And the woman gets out, the old woman gets out and opens her door. And the girl's like, please keep going. Please keep going. And the old woman's like, hold on, hold on, hold on. And the girl lies to her, right?
Yeah.
She says like, what happened to you?
I'm fine.
Yeah. She's like, did anything happen or whatever she says? And basically the girl tells her nothing happened.
You could just say like there was a crazy guy in the woods who
Which
killed
I don't know
all
why.
my friends.
Right. And the woman goes to dress her wounds with the door open to the woods behind her so that you think that Jason could easily come out of the woods. The girl is like scared and looking
She's
into the woods.
staring into the woods.
And it's kind of showing the woods, showing the woods, showing the woods. Movie ends.
Well, it shows the woods. Doesn't it cut back to the gas can and show that the necklace is no longer on the gas can, and that's the last shot?
I think that it does show that the necklace is not on the gas can anymore. I'm not sure which it comes last, whether it's the shot of the woods or the gas can, but that's it. And I love the concept. I do appreciate the tone as well, but there were so many fucking missteps in terms of the filmmaking and the logic of what was happening that I didn't understand it. We were talking about this in the parking lot.
We had
for
like an hour-long
Yeah.
conversation after.
It was one of those things where it's like the elements of this movie are so simple. It's like killer in the woods, group of kids, whatever, that's fine. It's like something happens that disturbs,
the killer,
the force that keeps the killer at bay, and there's like a MacGuffin essentially, right?
Yeah, I guess.
And so it's like he's after this thing, and the whole movie is him looking for this thing. The group eventually realizes that, and he gets the thing, and that's the bones of it. And I think you could take those bones and make this idea of Friday the 13th from the killer's perspective, and you could do a great thing. And what I was disappointed with was that I think that they made so many logical missteps that don't make sense that it became like so forgettable. You know what I mean? Like the story could have been cool. And like there's like simple filmmaking things. Like one of the things is like in the beginning, they show this pole with a necklace on it. It looks like it was placed there 1 minute before they started filming. But in the movie, it's supposed to be the thing that keeps them there.
Been there forever.
And it's been there forever. It's like that kind of stuff is happening. The idea of the kids keeping the necklace even when they know it's from him.
Yeah, throw that shit at him. You know,
it's there's so much of that I'm like, man, and also even the end where it's like it's so meandering with them in the car.
That last 15 minutes. And you know what else too, now that I'm thinking about it, if your premise is going to be from the killer's point of view, shouldn't the movie not do that POV switch at the end with the girl getting away?
That's kind of one of the things I thought about too, which is why I think that that's one of the reasons subliminally or subconsciously we thought she was part of it.
Yeah.
Because if she was aligned with him, then that perspective thing actually lines up. It makes sense because you're still kind of seeing it from the killer's point of view, or at least the people that are around the killer.
And we know Johnny's not following the car because we know he's not that fast because we just spent an hour with him.
Exactly. So I was kind of bummed about that. I really thought that they were going to kind of introduce maybe some sort of like explanation of why these slow moving killers can actually catch up to people.
Yeah.
Which they did do in the Friday the 13th game a
in
little
the
bit.
game, yeah. You could
Becomes
like
a
kind of
spirit.
become mist and like zip around.
Yeah, you become mist. And then in the Friday the 13th remake in 2009 or 10, he had tunnels all throughout the camp that he can get everywhere way faster. And I was hoping for some cleverness, and like I'm okay with these long shots of him walking. I'm okay with such a simplistic story, but there's a lack of like cool ideas in this.
It's like missing that thing that would make it special, you know, where it's like I saw it and like I loved, like I like that it was such a weird swing and a weird risk, you know, but to me it did show me how important the victims really are in these movies, you know, where it's like when you don't give a fuck about any of them and you don't care at all, it kind of means nothing when he's killing them.
Exactly.
And it's like, that's what this movie showed me in a way.
Yeah, and I think it's like, you know how he said that kill stood out to us, the
Yeah.
idea of the hair thing. To me, that's an example of like, okay, that was a clever, different thing, and you decided to do none of that with the plot. You didn't come up with a unique thing. You didn't come up with a surprising moment. And I think that I wish there was more attention paid to the idea that, okay, what disturbed him? What is he looking for? How is that story told? How is it relayed to these people? How do they realize what it is? What is their response? How does the audience find out the history? All those things I think could have been really, really, really cool, but it felt like it was, and I'm not trying to criticize anyone individually, but it felt like it was made by people who just didn't give a shit about any of that, which is weird because I'm like, well, that's all this movie has. If you're showing us the same thing we've seen a million times from a new perspective, that's what you're doing, is being like, this is the opportunity to show the stuff that you haven't seen in other movies.
So when I teach my class, I actually picked this up from Max Landis, who I know people hate.
Yeah.
But he had a YouTube channel for a while, and I did talk with him once on Zoom for like 45 minutes. But he has this storytelling thing called flip the premise, right?
Mm-hmm.
And basically, he's like, if you want to create a new story, and I tell this to my class, I'm like, you look at a classic story or any sort of film, and you flip the premise and you tell it from the opposite point of view. So he had basically a version of Star Wars that he had flipped, and he called it Cop Wars, where it's like from Darth Vader's perspective, where his kids now are terrorists that have been taken.
Yeah, that's
you know? So it's like, this is the flipped premise of basically a Jason movie.
Exactly.
Which is like, I'm for an experiment like that.
Me too.
You know, and I think I do respect the slavish adherence to this is only from his point of view until like the last 15 minutes. But I think even if you mix in some of that victim POV and we see them talking and hanging out a bit more and we get to know them.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I was thinking, because I was thinking about this a little bit. It's like, how could you do this differently? And so obviously what limits you, if you're doing it from the killer's perspective, is that you don't get any insight into the people that
The
he's
victims,
terrorizing.
they're just meat.
Would there be a way, and this is, I'm spitballing here, so bear with me. Would there be a way for him to come across recordings or writing or something where the audience gets a little bit more about those people? Do you know what I mean? And it's weird because I guess it depends on when this time period is, because it's not super specific. It feels like it's the 80s, but I don't know if there's technology or a lack of technology that really confirms that.
Yeah, I found it pretty like I wasn't sure if it was contemporary or not, because
neither did I.
I don't recall a single cell phone. I kind of think it's kind of just like anytime almost.
Me too.
Which is so weird to do because the world of 2005 on is not the world before it. You know, I
know. I think they should have placed it. I think if a card came up that said like, you know, location 1987, I think that would have been fine and it made sense. But I wish there was a way to essentially take those characters, especially because like, essentially in the Jason movies, it's like this nonstop series of movies that are really hard to build the lore because you keep killing so many people and introducing new people. But this is for sure going to be a one-off.
Apparently they want to do another one, I've heard.
Well, I was going to say, I think that they should have made the victims or one of the victims or something somehow tied into his backstory. Like I want.
Well, I think they kind of did that with the cop guy who shows up and he's like kind of hinting at all these previous things that happened.
Right. But I guess, I mean, having to do with the killer's, like his goal of getting the thing,
what he wants.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe that thing that he wants. I don't know. It's so funny because the bones of this are so simple that there has to be a formula that makes sense to make this interesting and have moments in the story that push and pull you and surprise you.
And I think the main difference with Jason is he doesn't want anything.
Exactly.
Jason is not like, he doesn't give a fuck. Like he cares about his mother and like he holds her sweater and stuff, but that's not really what's driving him. What's driving him is you're around me.
Exactly. That's exactly. One of the things that I've heard over the years in terms of Friday the 13th that I thought might be cool to be incorporated in this is that sometimes the presence of Jason is evil. And this is kind of like a Stephen King type thing. When he comes upon a group of people in Camp Crystal Lake, the actual forest expands and it becomes impossible to escape because of the spirit. In the same way that in Pet Sematary, the guy that dies in the beginning then starts to haunt the doctor and tell him about this, the soil is sour and he's kind of there.
Sometimes dead is better.
Yeah. And that runner guy or whatever, he's kind of like warning him a little bit and he's a part of it just because he died near him and the guy was trying to help him. So his spirit is there now. I like the idea of incorporating some kind of supernatural thing of like, well, when Jason starts to go after you, the forest is actually kind of on Jason's side and it's making it harder for you to escape.
Yeah. Like, why is this happening? Like,
exactly.
Like, what is the myth? What is the mythical reason why this necklace will keep him at bay and power him?
Exactly. And the thing is, I guess with something so minimal, and I feel this way about a lot of movies, the less money you have and the less of a budget you have and the less scope you have because of that, the more you have to rely on good storytelling. And it's like they threw that out for me. You know what I mean? But I really, it's unfortunate. And we talked about it a lot afterwards. It's unfortunate for me because I'm like, this type of project just isn't going to be redone anywhere because it's a flip. I mean, even if they make a sequel, it would have to be a sequel. It's not just doing it again.
You're either going to do a prequel, right?
Mm-hmm,
where you're bringing back the cop guy and you're showing that particular story and we're seeing how he got in the ground.
Yeah.
Or we're seeing him out and he already has the necklace. So now what is driving him is now he has the Jason motivation.
Exactly.
And he already has the necklace. So why would it not stop him again?
Exactly. So that's the thing that bothered me about this is like I was psyched and ready for a low budget, slow moving, cool concept, and they just were like, well, we're not going to do the cool concept part. And I'm like, come on, what the fuck? I was bummed.
It's an experiment.
It is.
And I definitely respect the big swing. I liked it a lot more than you.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to kind of take it where it's like, this is a weird experiment. It didn't fully work, but I'm glad I got to see this once, what it would be like.
And I agree. And I see it that way too. And I do like the idea of the concept kind of being, I do understand the idea of the concept being more important than the execution in terms of like, let's actually just do this and see where it goes. But I just do feel like a great mind could have come up with a story where at some point we said, oh shit. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing we never got. You were never surprised for 1 fucking second in that movie.
No, there's no surprises.
Never surprised. Never.
The only thing that was surprising to me was how funny it got at times.
Me too. I mean, they could have done, I just feel like they could have surprised you a little bit.
You know, it'd be funny to do a Freddy version where it's like he's in someone's dreams and you know how like all his kills are related to the person where he's like, what's this guy into? And like he's in the guy's psyche.
Yeah.
Oh, he really likes Nintendo.
And he's going through like a file cabinet.
Yeah. He's like reading in the guy's
really
brain.
Nintendo.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to tell you this because I don't know if you read about this. Have you read about the troubled production of Friday the 13th, the TV show?
Oh, I have heard about this. Yeah.
Did you hear about what the episodes are supposed to be? The proposals?
No, I don't know what.
This is what I read, and I'm pretty sure this was from a reliable source. But the initial idea, and they don't know if they're going to stick with it. They don't know if they're going to abandon this and go in a different direction. Every episode is going to take place during one of the Friday the 13th movies, and it's an alternate perspective that gives you more insight on the people in it and what's happening like
a random counselor or something.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's actually specifically from a person's perspective, but they're going to give you more insight on the characters and the specific point in time in Jason's story and
That's
Jason's
interesting.
history, which is really cool.
Yeah.
So like, if it was like episode 1 is 1, episode 2 is 2, episode 3 is 3, that would be fucking awesome. And it sounds kind of similar to this a little
5
bit.
is going to be really boring because Jason's not involved.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, what about the one with the ambulance driver?
Yeah,
which is
I
that
mean,
one?
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. In one of the Friday the 13th movies, if people don't know, at the end, they're like, oh, it wasn't Jason at all. It was a random dude.
Roy.
It was Roy. And it's like you could tell because instead of 2 red triangles or 1 red triangle, he has a blue one.
Yeah. And it's like also in that one, the guy who kills his son, which is what starts Roy doing this in the movie. He never kills the guy who kills his son. He kills everybody but him.
When I rewatched all the Friday the 13th movies probably in the past like 10 years, like really clearly. And I was like, no fucking way. I was absolutely shocked that was the conclusion of this movie. And it's like, man, in how many Friday the 13th movies is Jason not the killer? At least 2.
Oh yeah, because the first one, and yeah, that one.
You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, how many ones were is he full blown Jason with the hockey mask? 3, 4,
3,
6.
4, 6, 7, 8. Now, do you count Jason Goes to Hell?
I don't know.
Because he's like a slugworm. Who...
That's what I mean. It's very strange. It's very, from the outside, you're like, oh yeah, it's 10 movies about this guy, and you're like, not really. No, it's like 6 about a guy, and then 4 that are fucking around this guy in a bizarre way. No, I mean, maybe that's part of the problem is that in the Friday the 13th movies, the first movie is clearly
it's a whodunit.
It's a whodunit, and you find out it's an old woman, and that's the surprise, and she's protecting her son. And after that, it's like, is Jason getting revenge? Does he just not want people at the camp? Does he want, you don't really, does he hate counselors because his mom hated, you have no idea. You never get any idea of his motivation because he never speaks. And I guess because there's a question mark built into Jason's history, I was hoping they'd try to serve that a little bit too.
Okay.
That'd be cool. That'd be cool to give a little bit more perspective on what that is. But even in the story they decided to tell, I just feel like the necklace thing could have meant more. They could have done a different thing about what he wants, why he wants it, giving it more explanation.
What if there's a part where they go into the basement, like the characters, and like Johnny's watching them.
Yeah.
And they find like these old film reels.
Yes. See?
And they put that in, and it kind of is like an old guy, and he's like, you got to get out, like,
yeah. And maybe it's Jason's fucking dad.
His dad or something.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, we tried to bring back Johnny. He's not what he was, like.
Or maybe even like the dad is like, maybe the dad is like Indiana Jones, and he got this fucking gem that's supposed to be like, it's supposed to provide protection or whatever, and that's what's in the necklace. And he gave it to the mom, and it was like a nice thing. But then the mom either died or whatever, and it became a thing where it's like the mom gave it to Jason, and that's what's protecting other people from Jason. Or you find out something where the entire time of this movie, there's never a new fact to even find out. You're like, they took a necklace in the first 5 minutes. Oh, he had a necklace, and then he just follows them around, and that's it. And I think in a movie, it's like, you have those beats.
You want to learn and discover.
Exactly. At some point, you have to be surprised. It has to take a turn that you don't expect, or new information has to be revealed. And I think the way that that's done in movies is kind of what dictates good storytelling, honestly. How you hide things, how you reveal things. And this movie decided we're just not going to have any of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They were like, all right, in the first minute, he has a ball, and then someone takes away the ball, and then he's going after that ball. And that's it. That's literally what it is. And I get it that these type of movies, a lot of times they are about the kills. But even so, it's like they did one cool one, and which was cool. But I'm like, man, looking at it from a filmmaker's perspective, I don't know what they thought they were accomplishing.
I think it was just like
the experiment.
We're doing this weird experiment, and like we don't know what it's gonna be.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I also have to say, just as like the horny horror fan I am, there's no nudity in the movie. There's no boobs.
Yeah.
The only character that's horny is the lesbian,
which I did think that was fun.
She's behaving like the 80s horny guy,
And she said something like, "Why don't you come stretch me out?" or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that was weird. But I'm fine. I'm fine with that. I think that's a fun little twist on the genre. You know what I mean?
I would have liked to see them stretch each other out.
Exactly. I think they should have reversed all the gender roles. That's what they should have done. And they should have made like the nerdy guy who wants to get laid, but it's a girl. And that would be funny. That'd be a twist. That'd be fun. But yeah, I was just hoping for way more of a story. And it's funny because I feel like it's right there on the tip of my tongue, and I can't figure out what it is, but there's got to be a way to figure out how you can make this
from the killer's perspective,
still be something where you're invested. Even if you are on the side of the victims or you want them to get away, there's got to be a way that you can kind of hide things. I guess the easiest thing to do, you just brought up the thing about flipping the script.
Yeah.
Is maybe you make all the people kind of terrible. And so by the end, you're kind of rooting for the killing. Maybe that would make it more interesting.
That's actually an interesting point, because typically when you watch like a lot of good slashers, you don't like, I've been watching so many, like my thing as like the year gets into the summer, I try to watch a bunch of like teen sex comedies. I just feel like it brings in like the summer in a nice way.
Yeah.
But so many of the characters are just like near sociopathic assholes.
Well, I always feel like, especially in slashers,
Yeah.
there's at least one straight up villain character that you root for to get killed.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe if they made all the victims
just so shitty.
Yeah. This would have been fun. It would have been fun if you saw the campfire scene and like maybe one of them is clearly a piece of shit.
All right,
right?
what if we flip it? Ready?
Okay.
Let's play with this a bit. So instead of like it's a group out,
Yeah.
it's a camp setting, right?
Yeah,
And
right.
they're counselors.
Okay, so there's an active camp going
It's
on.
an active camp, but they're all older asshole counselors.
Yes.
And they're like they find like a nerdy kid, right? Like he's a fat dork with glasses, and they're like, let's just make this kid summer fucking hell.
This is the way to go. And so here's what's gonna happen. You gotta slowly do that. So you think it's like one person, then you think it's a second. And by the end, we get the parallel of him growing up as that nerdy kid who was treated that way.
Yeah.
And so not only do you root for their death the whole time, but then at the end, you also see why that would actually affect him.
And what about this? The person who took the necklace is the fucking the fat nerdy kid, right? So at the end, at the end, like at the end, you have like this big sequence, right? Where they're planning like the big prank that's gonna like ruin this guy's life, right? Like they're trying to they have like the smoking hot chick, where she's gonna like set him up, like
I'm gonna have sex with you down at the lake. I had a crush on you for 10 years.
Exactly. And like she's there and she's like such a fucking cut.
Yeah.
And she's with this fat nerdy kid, and like Johnny's showing up, and you see Johnny and like he's backing up like the kid, right?
Yeah.
And she's like, oh my God. And like, he's like, yeah, it's a prank. Like I already kind of figured out what you're up to, bitch. And Johnny looks at him and sees the necklace.
Yeah.
And he goes to swing, but like it won't let him kill the kid.
I'm thinking,
and he turns and points at the girl.
Well, I'm thinking this. What about this?
Right.
We're just spitballing.
Yeah, we're fucking around right now.
So I love your idea. So he starts going after people, and at first the audience is like, "Oh, he's just like a killer, and he's going after people. He's a bad guy." Then you find out that there's maybe the head piece of shit camp counselor, right? And he kills that one. So the audience is like, "All right, we're rooting for this kill just because this guy's a dick, but we'll see what happens." But then each of them, like you said, they revealed that they're complete pieces of shit. They have to do stuff that's inexcusable. One of them has to be like annoyed with a dog and just like put it in a paper bag and throw it in a fire.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like stuff that is completely, the audience is completely
They're
against them.
cartoon level evil.
Yeah, and he only is killing them. Even though maybe it looks like he's going after all of them, you get a fact that reveals that one of them is a piece of shit, and he kills that one. Another piece of shit kills that one. So slowly you're like, oh, he's only killing pieces of shit. And maybe every time he kills one of them, let's say it's the necklace thing, you see him pull their collar down and he's looking for the necklace.
Okay.
And maybe in the first one, the person does a necklace and like in the movie and he reads it and it's not the same one. He's doing it. He always checks their neck, right? And they're picking on some fat nerdy kid, whatever, the whole time. Let's call him Philip,
Okay.
Philip. And so they're always picking on Philip. You're seeing this stuff from Jason's perspective. And you'd have to get flashbacks of Jason's life, but I think we could do it from him
newspapers.
For his newspapers or him coming across stuff that was from his life. Maybe even he could be in the window of something and hear people and they'd be like, I found these cassette tapes, and they play them and they're like, maybe someone reading a story to him or something from when he was a kid, whatever it is. And he's killing all the sociopaths. And like you said, he comes across Philip at the end. He sees the necklace. And it would be a thing where, like, let's say it is the girl that's like gonna set him up and like, we're gonna trick him, we're gonna fucking throw pig's blood on him like Carrie, and she's all hot and she's gonna trick him, and Jason knows that that's this thing, and they're at the lake and he goes to get Philip and he comes up to him and he's just imposing. He doesn't even have to have his knife up. He's imposing and he sees the necklace on the kid and he picks up his knife and he picks it up and he takes the necklace from the kid and he turns around and kills the girl. And he lets the kid go and he doesn't even bother him. Or, I mean, you could even do a crazier version, which is where he like basically like tells him to go. Not verbally.
This? He hands the knife to the kid.
Oh, down. That's the ending.
He hands the knife to the kid and he just points at the girl.
That's it.
And it's like, you're the next me.
So that's the thing. So this is perfect. So he gets he's searching for the necklace the whole time, and you think, oh, he's killing everybody. It doesn't matter who has it. He's just trying to find this fucking necklace. But you kind of realize he's killing the sociopath people. He's killing the assholes. Comes across the kid at the end, and he passes it on and takes the necklace and walks away.
Yeah.
And I think basically it's like the shot would be from the side. It'd be a side shot, and it'd be like 3 across. It'd be nerdy kid, Jason, the girl. Jason hands him the knife, looks at the girl, looks at the kid, walks away with the necklace. The kid looks up at the girl, goes to black. You hear the girl scream.
Yeah, that's it.
That's fucking cool.
That'd be a punch.
Like you'd get the reveals, even though it's essentially the same thing. The necklace was moved. He had to find the necklace, blah, blah, blah. He's killing all these people. But that would be, the audience is slowly finding out something.
It's also like a good version of the last Halloween, too.
I was just going to say, it's very much like Corey Cunningham. Yeah, for sure. But do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How much more powerful would that be? And the thing is, we came up with that in 30 minutes on a podcast. Why do the writers go with what they did? That's my problem. That's the problem, is that I don't, especially if they're like, hey, we have a small budget, we only have this much. They still have somewhat of time. I'm sure they still spent a week writing this or something.
There's some amount of time.
How come they couldn't come up with some sort of story like that? And by the way, that's our fucking rough. We're fucking improvising, making it up on the spot. If we actually took a week and bang this
worked
out,
on it,
we'd make it even way better.
Multiple drafts,
You know what I mean?
So send me and Chuck like $2 million and we'll make this.
Of course. Dude, we could make a movie. To me, we could have made that same movie for $100,000.
I'm not gonna lie, this is one of those movies where I watched and I was like, I wish I fucking thought of that.
I know,
Yeah.
me too, man.
Which I gotta give respect to the guy who made it, Chris Nash, where it's like, it's a great idea and
it is
he
a great
fucking
idea.
did it.
Yeah, it's a great idea. But that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, it's like that. To me, what's cool about our version that I wish they incorporated, it doesn't change the budget. It doesn't change the scope. All we're doing is changing a couple moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we really didn't change much.
We didn't change much. We're just kind of making it so that you
Learn
are getting
and-
new information as you go and you kind of realize something. But yeah. So that was my frustration, is the fact that we could do this. You know what I mean? But I do respect it too. I agree with
Would you recommend it?
I'd recommend, if you're a fan of Friday the 13th movies, slasher movies, I think you should definitely watch it. I
liked it overall.
Yeah, I think I
like a big swing.
I like a big swing. And also, like, I've been going to these screenings called Screen Unseen at AMC, and they're $5. And what they do is they'll show you a movie that's not out yet, and you have no idea what it is. And one of my watch was, I think it's called American Fiction.
Okay.
And like, I didn't love it, but I was like, you know what? I wouldn't have watched this movie otherwise. It's not the type of movie I would go see. It's just kind of like a straight up small drama. And I'm like, I kind of appreciate that I watched it, even though I didn't necessarily like it that much and don't want to watch it again. I do like the idea of just kind of like watching movies. Even if it's like, I don't need every movie to be great and exactly in my wheelhouse. I think it's actually better to watch stuff where there's a risk that it might not be good, and it's also maybe not exactly what you would choose.
I think you'll learn more, and if you're a creative person, I think sometimes you'll be inspired when you don't like something.
I think so too.
It's like, oh, this is how I would have done this version of that story.
Exactly.
Where it's like, my movie that I made was direct. I first came up with the idea when I got out of District 9.
Yeah.
Because I didn't like District 9. I was like,
do you still not like it?
I haven't seen it since, but I never really liked it.
I think District 9 is pretty great. What did you not like about it?
When did it come out? 2010?
Yeah.
It's hard to remember exactly, but I think if I remember, what I didn't like about it was that it's just kind of presented as a fact, like these aliens are good.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no nuance where it's like, this actually isn't good, that these aliens just showed up and like they're on our planet. There's no one who's like, we should blow them the fuck up. Like, this is like an invasive species. So I think I didn't like that there was no nuance.
So you're saying that basically it's like, it was purposely kind of trying to like make a metaphor, and because of that, it just decided to kind of skip certain parts of the storytelling aspect.
I think so. I mean, I haven't seen it in 15 years, but my movie,
It's a metaphor for apartheid, right?
I think
apartheid?
apartheid, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think also maybe immigration. I think there's a lot there.
Well, I think it actually is like kind of specific to South
South Africa, that makes
I
sense.
believe so. I believe that movie was made because Peter Jackson went to South Africa to make the Halo movie, and then he decided he didn't want to make it, so he asked if he could have a fraction of the budget to give to Neil Blomkamp to make his first movie.
Okay, and that starred Sharlto Copley, right?
Sharlto Copley, who
Yeah.
I really love too.
I like him too. I think he's a good actor.
You see Monkey Man yet?
I did see it.
What'd you think?
I was kind of disappointed.
Really?
Yeah.
I
Did
really
you like it?
I liked it a lot. Yeah, I thought it was cool. I really, the movie was made for 10 million to go straight to Netflix, and Jordan Peele saw it, and he said this movie is better than like a straight to streaming movie.
Oh, it's definitely better than a straight to streaming movie.
And he was like, let's put this out in theaters. And I thought it was cool that Dev Patel wrote it, starred in it, and directed it, because I think the way it's shot is really, really.
I think Dev Patel showed a lot of promise as a director personally, and like I'm down to watch more of his. My main problem with the movie, I felt like it hit the brakes too much.
I understand that.
And I'm like, I want to see like your action. Like the action was great, but there wasn't enough of it, you know?
How about when he takes the knife in his teeth and does that thing?
Oh, it's
We
fucking
cut the-
sick. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that this movie had such a hype of an Indian John Wick that was the expectation, but I kind of liked the addition of all the trippy stuff and all the stuff about the culture. I thought it was fun. I agree with you that like I do wish there was a little bit more action. But I did appreciate the fact that the movie kind of goes like, here's this badass guy, he's gonna kill everybody, and then he fails at first.
Yeah, I like that.
And he has to go back to
and
training.
he has to train. Yeah.
I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, this kind of has like a Batman Begins a little bit to it.
Yeah, I was totally on board with like all the story beats and the elements and all
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I just felt like
I hear that.
there wasn't enough action. So like it wasn't bad. I would recommend people check it out.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like, you know, where I was like, I want him to kick more ass.
Yeah, I loved the directing of it. I loved the cinematography of it.
I'm
felt
with
like
you.
it felt like disturbing and so gritty and real. I loved that aspect of it. But yeah, and I love Sharlto Copley in it. I would give District 9 another chance. You might like it more. I was really impressed. I honestly, Sharlto Copley in District 9, just his performance as the guy so desperately flipping out as he's turning into this thing is awesome, with his big eye and his arm and stuff like that. And then him, yeah, I enjoy it, but I have to watch it again.
Anyway, so my movie,
Yes,
like it was, my plan was a trilogy, right? Which would kind of be like the inverse of District 9. That was kind of like my premise for the trilogy. And the first part, where basically it's a group of characters just debating whether they should help, think of like the District 9 aliens, whether they should help them kind of end up on Earth. And that's kind of the premise, is these characters debating it. And then the second movie would be more of the debate, and the third movie would kind of be the conclusion of the debate, which I found more. And obviously my movie sucks and I'm not fucking Neil Blomkamp. So I guess I'm wrong. But, you know, that was kind of my
that's
idea
cool. I
for
like
it.
that.
Yeah.
Did you see Chappie?
I didn't, but I wanted to.
I think that Chappie is okay, but the aesthetic and the feel of it is fucking amazing. It's incredible.
It's like that South African like grime. Right?
Oh, it's so grimy, and the CG is like top tier.
Do you feel like CG has gotten worse?
I feel like you want to know what I think it is, and I'm ignorant to the process of monstrous movie making. I feel like there's just like why does Dawn of the Planet of the Apes? Why is that the peak of CG of the past 15 years?
Which one is Dawn?
Dawn is the one with Koba and them.
The second one.
And the second one with them on
yeah.
horses and going through the fire. The CG is so great. And then you look at like Godzilla versus Kong and all these other movies that came later with similar stuff, and you're like, it's nowhere near as good.
I thought, like, we saw The Last Apes together. I thought it had the worst CG of the trilogy.
I don't think the CG was as good as the other ones. I thought it was still pretty good though.
It looks fine, yeah.
I think it looks pretty good. I think that Dawn starts with the shot of Caesar in the woods, and it's his eyes, and it's raining, and you see the inside of his eyelids, and you see everything, and it's 100% fake. And it's almost mind-blowing that you're not seeing a real thing that was made.
Yeah.
And I think that it's like nothing really has compared to that since
everything
then for me.
kind of, I feel like, looks like a cartoon. You know, like, I don't know.
Watch Chappie, like watch it in 4K. What they did with that robot, who is played by Sharlto Copley, is fucking outrageous. It's so good. But
Doesn't he like become a gangster rapper or something?
Yeah, he's basically he's a police robot like RoboCop ish. And by the way, this movie is heavily takes from RoboCop.
Oh yeah,
Hugh Jackman's the bad guy. They have the
just like in RoboCop.
and you know the big thing at the end of RoboCop, that big weird machine.
Yeah.
They basically have the exact same machine at the end of this.
Okay.
And what happens is,
Oh boy, that for $1 do.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And it's basically like this police robot that gets discarded, and these two South African like gangster pieces of shit criminals take him, and he's learning, so they teach him stuff, and he believes that they're his parents, like his mom and his dad. It's like a little disturbing in that way, where like he really thinks he's like becoming part of this family, and that's his mom and dad. And it's awesome. It's fucking I love it.
I would watch Chappie.
I love it. I shouldn't say I love it because I don't love the story, but I think in terms of aesthetic
It's worth watching.
and originality, incredible.
Is it kind of like a Short Circuit in a way?
I never watched Short Circuit.
Oh, really?
I'd
Okay.
love to. There's so many I missed. I actually thought we were planning on doing this podcast today, and I was like, I don't know if I ever told Rupert my original concept for a movie that I came up with when I was in film school.
No.
So I took a screenwriting class, and they were like, and I think this is actually a cool exercise. They were like, all right, a page on a script essentially translates to 1 minute.
Yeah.
They were like, you're going to have to write a screenplay, and you're writing page 30 through 60.
Okay, that's interesting.
Isn't that cool? And the reason I think they're doing
You're in
that
the second act
is because you can set it up with like a summary, and then you're living in the world of the movie.
Yeah.
And so the movie I came up with, and this is stuff I thought about today. I'm like, I haven't thought about this in so long. The name of it was a comedy, and it was a balls to the wall R-rated comedy. I think I must have, I graduated college in 2002, so this was probably 2005. It's called Dead Grandma's Cross Country Adventure. Did I ever tell you about this?
No.
Okay, so here's the concept, and it's based in some, these R-rated comedies like Wedding Crashers, stuff like that. So it has some tropes. It's not trying to like make a new amazing thing.
I'll be honest, I'm pro trope.
Yeah, me too. For a lot of this stuff, especially
Yeah.
comedy. The idea is there's a guy who's living his life. I think his name was Aaron, and he's very like straight laced. He's Brad. He's my buddy.
Okay.
My buddy Brad that's on Funbearable with me.
Check him out at the live show.
Yes, absolutely. He's like kind of like a straight laced, very organized, very responsible guy. His name's Aaron, and he has a buddy who's like not like that at all. He's very much like, he's flying by the seat of his pants. He's disorganized. The story is his grandmother dies, and this huge amount of money that she was going to split up between the family. And Aaron's brother is this high-powered lawyer, and he finds out that his brother's going to try to manipulate the will to get all the money. And what happens is they basically have to get to her vault, which is across the country, and they know that there's a retina scanner. And what happens is they have to steal her body and transport her across the country, right? And it's called Dead Grandma's Cross Country Adventure. And what happens is essentially shenanigans with this dead body, not like Weekend at Bernie's. I mean, I haven't really seen Weekend at Bernie's, but it's mostly in like a sheet. And early on, they piss off the Hells Angels, and the whole time the Hells Angels are chasing them, right? And there's a joke, and it's funny because like I don't know if this is like troublesome to put in the movie.
Yeah.
Where their boss is a guy named Charlie, and they always call him on a phone, and he's talking through the voice thing. So they're Charlie's
that's
angels.
funny.
Yeah, right. He's like, "Hello, angels," and stuff like that. So they're chasing him, and the brother is going after him. But there's all these different scenes. Like one of them is he puts the sheet over the grandmother, and he puts her behind a hotel door, Aaron, and his buddy. I think his name was Jack. He's like nervous at night for some reason. He's maybe scared of the Hells Angels, I remember. And he comes in, and he closes the door, and the thing starts falling, and he thinks it's a ghost, and he already has a bat, and he starts fighting the thing, and he destroys the corpse and stuff like that. He's beating up the corpse. There's a part where they don't have any money. They lost their car. The Hells Angels took everything, and they come across this thing for a bull riding competition where the winner gets $500, and they need $500. So they have this plan to put her on the bull. And put like the bandana around her face and tie her feet under it so that she stays on the longest because she can't. And like it's a lot of bullshit shenanigans with a dead body.
I think that's funny.
I think it's fucking hilarious. And that's the movie. The movie's about them trying to get across the country with this dead body, and there's a million physical jokes with this body throughout the whole thing. And that's I think it's great. I think it's so fucking funny. And I'm like, why can't they make this stuff? But yeah, so Dead Grandma's Cross Country Adventure. And by the way, I'm 100% behind the title. I'm not changing it. Like, if you see the poster, Dead Grandma's Cross Country Adventure, you'll be like, can I buy tickets now? What is, you know what I mean?
The poster has to be like Weekend at Bernie's style, like an homage where they're like,
I think it's like the car bouncing on the road, and it's Aaron and Jack, and they're like terrified, and the corpse has to be either tied to the top or something so that you see, and maybe the motorcycles
falling above the head.
Yeah, vultures. See, like that's a good running. There's vultures following them. There's fucking vultures, and they're like batting them away. Like that's funny. But that was my original. That was the first movie idea I ever came up with. Was Dead Grandma's Cross Country Adventure.
My first feature that I wrote was called "What's the Worst That Could Happen," and it was.
I like that name.
Yeah, I think that it was like a good title. So basically, the premise was basically me and Steve, like it's like the wacky zany friend and like the straight friend.
Yeah.
And one of them has like a shitty day, like he finds out his girlfriend's cheating on him, all this shit.
Yep.
And he's like, come on, just smoke weed with me one time. What's the worst that could happen? So they go to the porch.
I already like that.
They go to the porch and the guy's like about to smoke weed for the first time. And as he's putting it to the lips, to his lips, a cop pulls up and the cop is like walking to talk to them. And as he's walking, there's a branch which catches on his gun holster and it flips his gun up and it pulls on the trigger and it blows the cop's head off.
I love it already.
And like a whole bunch of shenanigans pop up where they have to deal with hiding this cop's body and the mafia gets involved. There's a whole bunch of crazy shit.
I fucking love it. I love that kind of stuff. I wish there was more of that. I mean, I know it's kind of beating a dead horse in terms of talking about how there's no comedies anymore. And I'm sure there'll be the return of comedies at some point in time.
I hope so.
But man, I fucking love that.
Can I tell you what I think is also a contributing factor to the death of comedies, which no one talks about? Also the death of movie theaters, because comedies work better when you're in a big crowd and everybody is having communal laughter. And when you're watching movies alone in your house streaming at 2 a.m. as you're half looking at your phone, you're not going to laugh as much. It's just a fact.
Completely agree. Completely agree. That's 100% true.
Whereas like the comedies now, like I think, what's his face? Adam Devine said this, are Marvel movies.
Yeah, I know. I agree with that. I know. I think that that's part of it. And then I also read something recently that's like people are so divided that they don't find things aren't universally funny anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's also probably a factor, which sucks. It's funny. So I have the beat sheet of Dead Grandma's Cross Country Adventure. I'm gonna go through it for a second just because I think this is interesting. I wrote it in 2007, February 2007. It says opening image. Slow pan across. It was Aaron. Aaron Eckwood's completely organized desk. He's setting up a shelf above it, and it's almost complete. A phone call from his best friend Jack startles him. He knocks it down. Aaron tells Jack Jack he says not to call him at work. So you kind of get this thing that he's organized, and Jack interrupts it. Theme stated. Aaron speaks on the phone to his friend Jack. Jack scolds Eckwood. His name is Aaron Eckwood. Jack scolds Aaron for never doing anything adventurous and leading his life within a cubicle. Aaron says he's safe in his cubicle. Blah blah blah.
Does he like hot dogs?
Yeah, exactly. His grandmother's in the hospital. Blah blah blah. I don't want to bore anybody, so I want to get to the fun parts. All right, so okay. So he tells so Aaron tells his friend Jack that his brother's going to take all the money. And he reveals he knows his grandmother's actual will is in California in a safe deposit box. He knows his brother is unaware of this. However, to get to this high security box, a retina scan is needed. Aaron knows that if he wants to get the will, the inheritance will be properly distributed, and he can stop his brother. Blah blah blah. And okay, so there's a ticking clock. The brother is flying out there in a week, so he wants to get there before the week, right? Jack tells Aaron they need to steal the grandmother's eyes and get to across the country. That's right. So they want to steal the grandmother's eyes, but neither of them can bring themselves to do it, which is why they bring the body, which is that's funny.
I think that's funny because that was honestly my first thought is why not just take her up?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Who wouldn't? Aaron and Jack break into the morgue to cut out his grandmother's eyes. When they realize neither of them were able to commit such an act, they steal the entire coffin. Now they can't fly there. They have to drive because they have to take the body, which is that's good. That makes sense. Okay. Okay. So, there's a local gang. Obviously we find out what it is. We find out it's actually the Hells Angels. Aaron and Jack begin their 7-day trip to California. Aaron immediately lays down ground rules. Jack is only focused on having a good time. Aaron has to stop in Nevada to speak to a relative about the whereabouts of the safe deposit box. The trip is going well. And Jack keeps telling Aaron he has to do different things to stop being stuck in his ways. Okay, so Aaron and Jack go to a bar where it seems like they're unwelcome. Jack pushes the envelope while Aaron tries to keep some sort of peace. While they're at the bar, the news shows their faces as being identified as people who stole this dead body. The people in the bar see this. They find out their names. They try to subdue the two men, but they get away. Aaron is in complete panic and wonders why the names triggered such a response. And Jack reveals that the people that were after him were the Hells Angels. That's where we find out who it is. He says he has some trouble and he needs to get out of town for a while. So that's why he's on the trip. Okay. So they're going after them. Aaron and Jack have a falling out because of Jack's idiocy and tendency to get into trouble. Jack reveals he heard Aaron talking to a coworker about how he needs to get rid of Jack because of how he lives his life, regardless of the fact that he's his best friend. Okay. So Aaron drives by himself to a motel in Nevada. He has no one to call, no one to talk to, and almost no more money. This is kind of the dark night of the soul. And he lost his best friend, blah, blah, blah. He decides to head home and let his brother win as he feels he cannot complete the mission without Jack helping him, pushing him into things. Aaron wakes up to find his car has been towed. Although the impound is close, he doesn't have the $700 to get the car out. A man walks by and hands him a flyer for a bull riding contest. The winner gets $700. He wishes he could ride a bull, blah, blah, blah. He realizes that the only way to do this is to do the grandmother thing. He teams up with Jack and does it. So I guess it's kind of the moment where they get,
their triumphant moment.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the end of the second act. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And so, it's kind of like the typical beach. I didn't know if I'd see anything that I didn't expect, but yeah, so that was my original plan. I love it. I think it's so funny. And I'm almost like, I wonder if we could make like a funny trailer of this movie
you definitely could.
where it's like, instead of actually trying to make this movie, it's almost like let's make a
trailer, yeah,
like a satire, almost a satire of like the typical Harold and Kumar-esque
what the comedies were.
Yeah, exactly. I think that'd be really fun. But I thought about that earlier today, and I'm like, maybe I'll bring it to the table because we're talking about writing
movies,
and all this kind of stuff. Yeah.
And we saw another movie.
That's right.
We saw The Watchers.
Yes.
Now, this one, the only thing I really knew about it going in was that this was M. Night Shyamalan's daughter.
Right.
Nepo baby.
Nepo, yeah. That's her name. Nepo baby Shyamalan. Yeah, it's just a coincidence.
No, Ashana Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
So is Night his actual last name? Like, or did she adopt it too?
That's a great question.
Is he like George? You know how George Foreman named all his kids George?
No.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Even the daughters, he named all his kids George.
First name?
George.
You gotta be kidding me.
Even the girls, I swear to God.
So it's like George Foreman.
Yeah.
No, get the fuck out of here.
I swear to God. I'll pull it up. Hold on.
But isn't that confusing?
I guess not for him. I don't know.
I mean,
George, his wife, George.
George
what?
Jr.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why? Why is it a benefit? That's what I want to know. I want to know how things could get better in that way. They all have different nicknames. Says get them.
But they all are George, right?
And I believe his daughter is Georgette or Georgina.
Oh, Georgette or Georgina.
There's a Georgetta, yeah.
Wow. Good job, get him.
Yep. Yeah, George Foreman's 10 kids. Why he named all of his sons George and his daughter is Georgetta.
That is bizarre.
Right?
I mean, what?
You're a third.
I am a third, but at least I'm a third. But
Yeah.
so what is the rest? Is there any reason? Why is that good? Why is that positive?
Let's see.
I just want to know if he had a reason for it. If it's like
I named all my sons George Edward Foreman so they would always have something in common. Not the fact that they're brothers or that they're related.
They're just sitting there. You're like, oh man, what should we talk about? It's like, our names are the same. And then George Foreman is like in the background giving a thumbs up. He's so happy that they're bonding. That's fucking crazy. But yeah, no,
I wish it was like I named them after the grill.
Well, I was wondering if it's like, is there like an aspect of this where they all get some sort of royalties? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. But yeah, M. Night Shyamalan, whatever her name is.
His daughter, Ashana Night Shyamalan. And I believe this is her debut feature. Yes, this is.
It is. Which I'm going to say up front, in terms of cinematography, I thought it was pretty well directed.
I enjoyed this movie for the first about 2/3.
Yeah.
And then I kind of felt it really ran out of steam and went in a wacky direction, which I didn't enjoy.
See, it's funny because I love coming up with concepts and stories and ideas. And one of the things that scares me about veering towards mystery is that you can get so caught up in the fun of what does this mean? What does this mean? That you're essentially building like a Jenga tower,
Yeah.
and the answers are the bottom pieces of the Jenga tower. And so often they never actually land. And so you've got this like faulty, shitty thing that right at the end, you're like, oh, it meant nothing. And that's how I felt at the end of this a little bit.
It was really unsatisfying. And again, this is kind of similar to the last movie where it lacked a real punch at the end
Right.
to kind of bring everything together and leave you satisfied.
Yeah.
So this movie, I guess we'll run through it. It's Dakota Fanning,
Mm-hmm.
Getham's favorite actress.
Yep. That's right.
She is an American living in Ireland,
Right.
and that's really all there is to it, right? She's just like, she's kind of shitty, I guess.
You want to hear a part that we kind of glossed over when we talked about it afterwards?
Yeah.
She dresses up as other people to seduce men.
That I felt like that was not too clear, right?
But that's what she put on the wig.
I saw her in the wig.
And then she went to the bar, and she
right?
met the guy. And then she says to the bird, like, don't judge me, blah, blah, blah. Because she has
Okay.
that bird. Never comes into play whatsoever. It's just a thing that happens
Yeah,
towards the beginning.
That's why I didn't even pay attention to it.
I hated the fact the first thing we're introduced to her with is her vaping in the pet store and the boss being like, don't vape in the pet store.
Yeah.
I'm like, why is that in here? Why the fuck would you include that from a storytelling?
That's why I felt like we're kind of supposed to view her as like a piece of shit and not a good person.
But here's the thing. So many people vape would that really come across to an audience?
No, but I felt, do you agree that's how they're kind of trying to paint her? Like she's not a good person?
I kind of thought, honestly, I thought it was like she's cool and the world is like trying to impose their rules on her. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't really get it. I totally see your point of view.
I thought they were trying to build it like she's like this scumbag person, like going to the bar and like she's vaping in the pet store.
So I did,
you know?
I did look up some stuff about the book.
Yeah.
And I don't have a ton of information, but she is supposed to be like a struggling artist who's taking on side jobs to support her art.
That is not in the movie at all.
No, I mean, she does paint or something in the beginning, or she has like paintings or like a canvas or whatever. And it's just like in the background, basically.
Yeah, it's nothing I would view as important.
Not at all.
And anyway, the main movie starts where her boss is like, hey, take this parrot and you got to bring it. She's in Ireland. You got to bring it this other place in Ireland.
Yeah.
Essentially. And while she's driving there, her car breaks down.
Mm-hmm.
And she's with this parrot, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I'm just gonna walk into the woods."
Yeah, what happens is, and I mean, I don't know. You can kind of speak to this if you think that this makes sense. It felt like in the beginning that those woods are cursed.
Yeah,
because it's like she goes in. I don't know if you remember. There's a shot of her radio, and it gets all fucked up and fuzzy, and then her car shuts down.
Yeah,
but according to the lore of the movie, there shouldn't be anything weird about the woods being possessed at all.
Yeah, it's like people always go missing in these woods.
But it's because of specific creatures that live there. It's not because the woods have any sort of...
Yeah, I thought it was like a haunted woods situation something.
Me too.
And it's that they're building that layer of mystery there.
Exactly. This is a good metaphor for the entire movie to me.
Yeah, and she walks into the woods, and you know, I'm on board. I'm like, okay, let's see where this is going. And now she's unable to get out of the woods pretty quickly.
It's just like the sun is going down, I think.
Yeah.
And she, if I remember correctly, she hears like there's like rustling and someone runs by and she doesn't know what's going on and she has the bird. And then she hears the old woman who is in like the corner of a structure. She's in the doorway and she's like, quick, come here quickly, you got to get inside. And she's like, right now. And the girl runs to her and goes inside, and you kind of get the idea that there's some sort of creature outside. And now she's gotten to a structure and she found some safety. And what you find out right away is that there are 3 other people in this structure. It's an older woman, a younger guy, and like a
contemporary aged girl.
A contemporary aged, girl. And here's what's weird. The girl is like, the girl that was already there is like, yeah, I don't know how long I've been here. I guess 5 months. And then the guy who's been there has been like, I've been here for 8 months and 24 days or something. And he knows exactly how long he's been there, which doesn't that mean that
he would know how long yeah.
And so essentially, I mean, you can kind of take this because you might lay the facts out clearer than I will, but you go ahead.
So now the old woman is like, we have to stand in front of the mirror. They like to watch. And they all have to stand in front of like this like two-way glass.
Yeah, there's one room with 3 cement walls, and the 4th wall is a two-way mirror where from the outside you can see into the structure.
Yeah.
And it goes out to the woods, obviously. And they're like, they like to watch. And then you hear like some sounds, and Dakota Fanning is like, what's that? And they're like, they're applauding for you because you're new.
Yeah, they're happy you're here.
Yeah. And you're like, okay.
This
like,
is weird.
you're
Yeah.
like, what are they doing? What's going on
This
here?
is a good first step of the mystery.
Sure.
You know, I have no complaints with anything here really, except, you know, I don't know too much about the main character.
Right.
But I assume we'll learn it as we're going.
Yeah.
And then after that, they kind of get the rules of the old woman gives the rules to Dakota Fanning of this place, where it's like, you have to be back here every night by sundown or these creatures will come and kill us.
Yes.
Don't
turn your back to the wall.
Don't turn your back to the wall. Always let them see your face.
Mm-hmm.
What are the other rules?
Don't go into the holes outside.
Don't go into the
there
holes
are holes outside that go underground.
And we all work together, basically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and just be back here at night.
Mm-hmm.
So she does like follow the rules at first, and she's like exploring.
And by the way, these 3 people, as much as they're like, don't go outside, it's scary. And one thing we kind of just forgot to say that was before we get introduced to Dakota Fanning is there's one guy running through the woods.
Oh, the very opening of the movie. Yeah.
And he's being like followed. He climbs a tree, falls down, and it seems like some kind of creature kills him kind of off screen. It's unclear, but that's what it seems like. And so Dakota Fanning says to the contemporary age girl, she says, like, hey, like, you know, how long have you been here? She's like, I came with my husband. And even though they're all like, don't go outside at night, you'll get killed. She's like, my husband left 6 days ago, but he's coming back soon. I'm like, how does she believe that you can't go out at night or get killed, but also her husband has been gone for a week and he's going to come back?
She's okay with this.
And they're all like kind of jolly-ish. Like they're not like, oh my God, our lives, what the fuck? They're kind of just like, yeah, this is crazy.
Well,
we
have a TV in here and we can watch like this shitty reality show all the time.
So they show them watching a DVD of like a real world equivalent. And
I thought that was going to be some sort of metaphor or something.
You know what's funny? So did I. I thought that this was going to be about either reality television, celebrity, 24/7, whatever. And I think that the Shyamalan did put it in for that reason, but then just never paid it off in any way. They were like, it was like the person that directed this was like, let's put in a reality television thing because it's kind of like watching people.
Yeah,
that's as much thought went into it as possible.
It's like anybody watching it that's thinking about like metaphor and things like that, you'll pick up on it clearly.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, oh, is this going to be a thing? Do you think it's a red herring?
No, I think it's lazy. I think because all it is that, and then they never even revisit it. But as the story goes on, what really bothered me was how okay everyone seemed to be living in this thing for fucking months of their life. All of a sudden, they're stuck in this box.
Everybody but Dakota Fanning.
But she's not even that bothered either. She is kind of like,
well, she's kind of one.
She's like, this is weird, and that's it.
She's the one who's most willing to rebel against the rules of the old woman.
True.
Where there's like these holes, which they're told not to go down. And Dakota Fanning is like, let's fucking go down these holes.
Yeah, exactly.
And she goes down and finds like a bike and like all these other things which would help them get away.
And older stuff from like the 90s.
Yeah.
Is what it seems like. And no, that never gets paid off in any way.
No.
And I will say, just to put it out there, it's made clear that you cannot reach the edge of the woods before night comes.
It's impossible distance-wise to make it.
Exactly. And she thinks that the bike might change that so that they can actually get out by the time. She brings it back inside the bike. And because of that, the creatures are like banging on the walls. They're pissed. They're flipping out.
The woman's husband shows up.
The woman's husband shows up that you thought was killed in the beginning, and he's outside, and they have set up a video camera outside, and so you see his legs, and he's like, let me in. And the old woman is like, no, don't let him in. It's not him. It's them pretending to be him. And basically she says, ask him a question that only he would know.
Yeah.
And so the woman says, what book was I reading before you left? And the guy is unable to answer it. and then he bends down and they build it up really big and he just looks right into the camera and he's a regular guy. And I do think it was supposed to be the monsters impersonating him, but why just reveal it's just a regular guy, like without any sort of affectation? Because later on, you know, this is going to be spoilers.
Yeah, we're spoiling the movie, so
We find out that these monsters can imitate humans, but they're always kind of warped and weird. But he wasn't.
no. He's normal. Well, isn't it like the more they watch you, the better the imitation is?
But I feel like every time they imitated anything, the eyes were weird, and they were kind of because
right.
remember the ending shot?
Uh-huh.
It's just a random girl that they made up, and the eyes are still fucked
Yeah.
up and weird. I honestly, when it started showing, at some point it shows like how they replicate or like how they imitate people. I thought it was gonna be a metaphor for AI art because they even say
I thought that
sometimes
too.
they have 6 fingers. They don't know how to replicate people. And what you find out is that the things outside are watching them in order to try to replicate human beings. And someone says like, but they're always kind of off. The eyes are off. There might be 6 fingers, whatever. So what I remember is, they start getting mad. The girl returns the bike, but the things are still mad.
The old woman throws the bikes away back down the pit, and she's like, "This will calm them down."
Yes, but they're still flipping out. And here's one of the things that bothered me the most in the whole movie. They have one kitchen table. By the way, did you think about this? You know how every day they're hunting for food and they collect the birds? What are they doing with those birds? There's not an oven in there. It's one room. There's no bathroom. There's no oven. There's no micro. There's nothing besides a kitchen table. But every day they spend all day hunting.
Yeah, we never see them have a fire outside either.
Nothing.
Yeah,
and so what happens is the creatures are flipping out on the outside of this room. They take the kitchen table and they push it against the door, and they say, "Hey, there's a monstrous pile of rugs under the kitchen table." They move the rugs, and there's another door to beneath it.
And it's one room. You would think at some point,
if you're in that room for 8 months, you're inspecting every fucking centimeter of that room without a doubt. Anyone in there,
they're all just like, I guess this is what I do now. Like I live here.
That's one of the things that fucking kills me about this goddamn movie.
I guess this is reality.
Everyone just accepts this hellish existence, and they're just like, I'll just live in one room with 2 strangers. And by the way, so I don't exist at night. I'm not gonna check around. We can't cook anything inside. There's no bathroom. It's fucking bananas. So they go downstairs, and by the way, they twist a wheel to like open the hatch to get in the basement. They get into the basement, and then they close it. And what? The monsters can't open the hatch? Because they break into the fucking room.
That's true.
They break the glass and they come in the room while everyone's underground in this new area. The monsters don't go down there. Why? Why don't they?
Yeah, they have the ability to turn.
Yeah,
they can grow human limbs.
They're basically the monsters themselves, which eventually we find out are called changelings or fairies. They're basically human-esque, but they're just like way taller and way skinnier, but they have hands and arms.
Yeah.
So they go in the basement. They find this computer that is not connected to the internet, but it has a bunch of video files, and they find out that
this scientist, this professor, who was into mythology and folklore, developed this whole place basically so he could study the changelings with his scientific discovery.
He must have known they were there somehow. Sure, that's fine.
Irish folklore, yeah,
sure, whatever. And I think what they. I think this is in the movie. I'm not sure. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's in the book because I did read a big comparison. Is like he brought people there to help build the room, and every day the changelings would kill them all.
This is in the movie with the construction workers.
And then he would just bring more.
He would have them like help him build.
Yeah.
And then be like, "Oh, I got to turn in for the night. You guys have lunch outside."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, exactly. So he did that. You find out a couple things. One, he had one in captivity that he caught.
Yep.
He has a gun and he's like, I'm done with this experiment. I can't do this anymore. I have 2 bullets in my gun. I'm going to go kill the thing and then kill myself. He goes off screen. You hear 2 gunshots. You assume that that's what happened. And he also says, I put a boat on this river. And it's as very far away as you can go in like a day's time. So you can get out. If you get to that boat, here's where the boat is. Right. And
it's fully stocked too, by the way. They don't have to leave.
The room has like a ton of
provisions,
food, and Here's what's weird though. Does it make sense for him to be able to? How did he build the structure? Like, does he bring people there in the morning and then he leaves?
They said he brings construction workers.
So he must leave them there during the day, and he's leaving while it's still during the day. So his car works?
I guess. Yeah, why does the haunted... Maybe he has a magic car? Well, did her car break down from magic, or did it actually just break down?
The radio is not really part of the car, and it fucking lost it at the same time. It's pretty weird. So I don't know how he's getting in and out every day, but he is, and he's fine. Doesn't make
now that we're thinking about this, is falling apart even more.
Yeah, and I realized most of it, and then as I thought about it more, it was weird. So she's like, I'm leaving. And here's the thing. If you really were in that situation and you were nervous, I think what you should do is wait until you know it's a point in time where it's the longest days of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
But she's like, I'm leaving tomorrow. Fuck this. Which I do understand. If you're stranded somewhere that you don't know for let's say they were there for like a week and a half.
I don't want to wait here 6 months.
Yeah, exactly. So whatever. So they leave the next day. They find out that they know that he's a professor. So she's like, I'm gonna go find out some more about this. They leave. They get to the boat right when
as they're getting there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
The changelings start showing up.
They start showing up, and the younger guy who was with them, he kind of gets tricked by them, and he gets killed.
One of the dumbest fucking deaths ever.
And it's
at this point, we all know they're changelings.
Exactly. And it's she pretends to be the husband again, right?
Yeah.
They pretend to be the husband, even though it's even further. Even it's another week, let's say. And again, if you're one of these characters and you're like, we can't go at night or out at night or it's a certain death. Oh, this guy that left 2 weeks ago he left. Now he's back. We know these things are shapeshifters. It must really be him. It's so fucking bananas that's the idea they use. Like, why couldn't you have the changelings pretend to be like policemen? Or like people that are like, hey, do you need help? We heard that there are people trapped in the woods.
Or they read your mind and it's like can take the form of someone you know.
Something that's not so clearly like this person is almost
where it's
certainly
like, oh, my brother Bill
dead.
came to get me.
Yes.
Because it can read his mind.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's fucking bananas. So the main character, Dakota Fanning, the contemporary age girl, and the old woman get to the boat. They escape. They get to land. They're happy. They're on a bus. They hear some music. Cool. Dakota Fanning's like, I'm gonna go to this professor's, like the college.
And this is where the movie really fucking dives off the deep end and lost me.
She's like, I'm gonna go to his office and find out about his research.
And I'm gonna burn all his research because that was what he said he wanted them to do.
Yes. So he goes there. She goes there. She talks her way in. Says she's his niece or something. Gets all the info. She goes to the contemporary aged girl, who is the girl from Barbarian, right?
Is that the girl from Barbarian?
I think it is the girl from Barbarian. If it's not, then it's another movie that's like a very similar time period like horror movie that came out around.
She is in Barbarian. You're right.
Yeah, she's the main girl from
call.
Barbarian. Yeah, and she goes to her house.
Well, I mean, she batted 50%.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not like I don't know if the acting was necessarily bad. It's just a crazy movie.
It's not her. The cast was fine.
The cast is fine. So she goes to her.
And the directing was fine mostly, too. I think it's really just a story problem.
I agree. So Dakota Fanning goes to her house and she says, so what I found out was that, yes, we know that they're changelings.
Well, no, I thought she found out in the room about... She didn't find it.
She shows her in the pictures.
Oh, okay.
So what happens is they already knew that they were changelings. They knew that there were these fairies that were creatures that can't go out during the day.
They're stuck in the woods.
They're stuck in the woods for some reason. And
there was like an ancient, this is what I got. Tell me if I'm wrong. There was like an ancient war thousands of years ago between humans and fairies after they had worked together. And the humans set up basically this like bridge or rune, something that banished the fairies to live in the woods in darkness.
Yeah, right.
And now they're all changelings and they're pissed and they want to kill humanity.
Right. And they want to replicate them.
Yes.
So we know that Dakota Fanning finds out that some of them are halflings, which I believe maybe they find out even in the basement, but they find out before the end. Some of them are half changeling, half human because humans mated with some of the fairies.
Yes, that's right.
And you don't really understand the rules of that or what that means. And Dakota Fanning goes to the Barbarian girl's house and she's like, look at this. And she's showing her all the information. And she's like, look at this is the professor that built this that we found out about in the basement. Look at his wife. And it's the old woman.
Yeah.
And so the barbarian girl says, "Oh my God, that was his wife in the shed." She goes, in the house with us. And Dakota Fanning says, "No, that wasn't her because she was diagnosed with this cancer and she died years before that."
It's a changeling.
It's a changeling. You kind of realize he went out there to catch a changeling so that he could duplicate his
Bring
wife.
his wife back.
Now, let me say right here, before we go any farther, you have a wife.
Yeah.
If you just found a creature that could look like her, do you think that replicates your relationship whatsoever?
I guess it's close enough.
Well, she looks like her. That's fucking bananas.
That's the most important thing.
She's a monster from the woods.
Yeah.
It's
Don't
like
talk about my wife that way.
But like, I was thinking about that. I'm like, just because you made a terrible creature that screams and shakes and all these things, just because you made her look like a person you like, you think that's your relationship is back? What are you talking about? Like, first of all, you have to convince it to do that, which I don't even know.
Yeah.
What do they eat? Cats? I don't know. And then it's like, what if it turns into someone else one day? Why is all you care about that it looks like your dumb fucking wife?
Yeah.
I mean,
Who's an old lady? Wouldn't you be like, look, it's Sydney Sweeney?
all I'm gonna say, hey,
She's already an old lady.
I didn't say it. No, but I was gonna say, like, at least because you got to think the people writing the story, you could have put in that it replicates all their traits, not just the way they look,
Like their memories.
their memories. No, it's just because obviously they even prove that they don't get their memories from the fucking question early on. It's not even up in the air. So this guy cares so little about his relationship with his wife that he just wants this monster to look like her. He's basically going out into the woods and catching the equivalent of a dragon and being like, well, it can look like my wife, so I'm just going to bang this dragon. It's fucking insane. But okay, let's go with it. Let's go with it for the moment. So she says, look he caught a changeling to replicate his wife in looks only. And then, this was good. They're like, that older woman is actually coming over to find out this information right now. Oh my God, we're going to tell the changeling she's a changeling. Does she know? Is she going to change? And they're like, oh, the car's pulling up, and they peek outside, and the car pulling up is the girl from Barbarian, and you find out that the girl she was telling is actually the changeling, which that was a great moment. I thought that was good.
I knew that was coming.
I kind of figured something like that was coming. And I believe she like hits Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, and now she turns into like the full monster thing, right?
Monster, yeah. The barbarian girl comes in and she kills her, right? The changeling kills the girl?
No, she lives.
She lives?
They end up talking to her.
So here's what I don't get. It's like, are you sure she lives?
I thought she does.
I think she kills her. Well, either way, let's say she's off the board in terms of like
she's knocked out. She's not dead.
Knocked out. So the changeling, which is now out, goes to kill Dakota Fanning, right? And the Dakota Fanning says, I know something about you that you don't know. And the changeling says, what is that? And Dakota Fanning says, you're a halfling. That's why you can walk during the day, because you got to think that this woman was around during the day. That's why you have the ability to be out in the sunlight.
That's why you're able to cross the bridge when no one else could.
You're still a changeling, but you're also human. And she goes, which means you can feel pain and sorrow and guilt. And the changeling is like, no, and I'm just like, in the theater, I'm just like, why does
you
this
need
thing
to let
give a
go
shit?
of your hatred of humans?
It's like, why does this thing give a shit? I think that honestly,
and we're missing something too.
What's that?
Which is the fucking batshit reveal where Dakota Fanning is like insistent throughout the movie almost that she's a terrible person.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, that's one of the big things about her backstory that doesn't really come into play until the very end.
Yeah.
Is that when she was a kid, she was playing with the car window when she was like 6 or 3.
She's a child.
And her mom was like, stop playing with the car window. And her mom put the window up and Dakota's Fanning fingers got caught in it and she screamed. And the mom looked back and drove into a semi-truck and died. And so though her mom died, her sister, Dakota Fanning's twister, was hurt. And Dakota Fanning now can't shake this guilt that she's a terrible person, which is so bizarre.
Where it's like, you aren't driving. Your mother was driving and you were a child.
Yeah, exactly. It's a crazy, it's funny because like from a person standpoint, I understand the idea that someone might have some guilt in real life, But from a storytelling perspective, it's a terrible.
Nobody would be like, this makes me the worst person ever.
Exactly. It just doesn't make any sense. They should have tied it to something that she did, like a drunk driving accident.
Yeah.
Where she killed a family or something. Because then she could be like a person who actually made a bad decision as an adult and needs to change the way she makes decisions.
You're not responsible for what you did when you were that young. Like,
Exactly.
You don't have a brain.
And also, even when they show the flashback, it's like she's basically, the most she did was put the window up and down and then scream when her fingers got caught in the window.
Yeah.
That's exactly what she did. She didn't even like reach up behind her mom and like put her hands over
It's
her
not
eyes.
like she was like throwing a ball and her mother's like, don't throw that. And she threw it and it bounced and got caught in the fucking like.
Exactly. It's not even that.
bed.
It's not even that. It's way less than that. So she tells the woman, the changeling, like, oh, you're a human. So do you think that the reason, and the changeling goes like, oh my God, no. And it starts like freaking out and changing into all different people and then
It
flying away.
acknowledges like what happens and then it just leaves.
So is your takeaway that they're supposed to hate humans so much that the changeling despised that it was part human?
I don't even know what I'm supposed to take away because I found the ending so baffling.
I did too. I think that the possibility that changelings hate humans so much that that's what the problem was, which is really thin because they don't go into it that much.
No.
And the other possibility that I guess they just didn't do at all, but maybe this is what it was, is that the changelings are free of morals or guilt or emotion. Like they're just like robotic killing machines, like I guess like xenomorphs, and that the revelation, but it's weird because you'd feel the feelings already.
Yeah.
It's like if someone's like, hey, guess what? You can feel sorrow. You're not just like, oh my God, I can't feel sorrow. Yeah. I think from a storytelling perspective, I don't understand what was upsetting in that moment for the changeling.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Well, I'm looking on Wikipedia and it said Mina reveals Madeline's status as a half-human hybrid.
Yes.
Persuading her into letting go of her hatred towards humans and telling her there may be others like her out there.
See, I think that maybe the way the movie displayed the changelings watching the people, it didn't feel like they hated them. It felt like they really wanted to.
They were like studying.
They wanted to copy them and wanted to maybe become part of society. And I guess in the studies of the professor, he said that there was a big war and they were like, you know, banished. But they don't, if they wanted that to be a moment, they needed to hit this thing that the changelings hate humans 1,000,000 times more. Right?
Yeah.
Like it needed to hit it 1,000 times more than they did because it's just like, by the end, I think most audiences would probably be baffled by that moment.
And I really think they did a disservice by including the confrontation with the old lady as the changeling. I think it would have worked better as, even though it's a lame twist, I think it would have worked better if she just brought it to the other young chick and she's like, holy shit, that person we were with is a changeling. She could be out there anywhere. And then you just show a shot of like the old lady walking down the street and like she changes. Or
something,
you know,
if that was the conclusion, you mean if we reworked the story so that the final moment was just that we find out that she's out there, I think it would take some reworking in terms of how they tell the story. But yeah, that's a better ending. It's a cleaner ending than this. And what they do is the girl flips out, the changeling flips out, flies away. Then we cut to Dakota Fanning. She's made up with her twin sister.
Yes.
And she's like, yeah, so that changeling I told you about, she follows me everywhere, man. She's nuts. Look out. She's outside right now. It's a little redhead girl. And then of course, the changeling is looking up at the window.
Just staring at the window, watching her.
And then it ends.
Yeah.
And it's like, this movie was, to me, bafflingly terrible in terms of storytelling. There were so many insane decisions made from the character's perspective and the writing perspective of like the people being okay being there, the people who are sure that you would die if you're outside at night, but expecting that this guy left a week ago and he's going to come back. The idea of they never checked the rugs. They never checked the whole place to see if there's any other.
Yeah, every inch.
They never checked that. They are hunting all day, but there's no way to make anything. So much of this movie didn't make sense to me. Even the professor being like, my wife is alive again because I made a changeling look like her. It's like you chain up this bizarre creature and you're like, look like my wife, you piece of shit. Then you're like, oh, no, now I have a happy marriage again. What are you talking about?
Hold on, wait. I'm just thinking about this now. Is the changeling he captured Is that
I'm
the
still laughing at your monster
Yeah.
from the woods thing. You said, "Hey, leave my wife alone." That killer monster from the woods is so funny.
wait? But so that changeling that the professor captured, is that the mother of the changeling that's there, or is that the one?
You're saying, did the professor catch a changeling, bang the changeling,
Have the
the
kid?
changeling has a baby, and the baby grows up to be the old woman? I don't know, because you got to think the
Because wouldn't that
changelings.
make it a half breed?
I will say the changelings could I guess replicate any age, so it could be a baby changeling, but that'd be now we're changing it into an incest relationship.
No.
Yeah, because it's the guy's daughter,
Well, what it
isn't
Oh,
it?
Yeah, it is. But wait. All right, hold on. What if he banged the changeling, right?
Yeah,
Then
like any of us would.
yeah, he bangs his old lady changeling, because how is there already a half breed changeling then? That's my thing.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I do. However,
At some point, someone banged a changeling.
I think
Someone looked at one of these monsters.
I would seduce a changeling. I'd like that. That's interesting. No, like I think it's conceivable that someone in the past has banged a changeling.
Okay.
However, it's a great question of how he catches a halfling specifically. Oh, I know how. They're the only ones out during the day.
Yeah.
So if he goes there, he builds the hut, sacrifices the construction workers, hides from the changelings. He roams the woods during the day, and if he sees a changeling during the day, he's like, "This one's a halfling. I gotta catch this
And
one."
these things seem pretty formidable.
Well, I was gonna say this is another question: is how this professor caught one?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
He just kind of has it in like you see on like the camcorder footage. He just kind of has it in his bunker, and he's like, "Come here, I won't hurt you."
But it's screaming and flipping out. Isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's like yelling at him.
Yeah, I don't know. By the way, I think it's hilarious that the idea of like it's like he wants to replicate his wife, and you're like, why wouldn't he replicate her to be Sydney Sweeney? And I'm like, I don't want to say anything because I don't want to insult the older actress that played the woman. But I do.
Let's be real.
I hear you. Maybe if you're old, you're looking old. I don't know, but that's a great question. That's a great question. So he
Look at this picture of Euphoria.
He's like, you know what is funny?
He's goes playing anyone but you on loop.
He goes there with the wife picture, and he's trying to get him to replicate the wife, right? And then one day he's flipping through like a Playboy, and he's like, "Wait a minute," and he goes like this, and he he holds it up, and he's like, "No way!" And he calls. He's like, "Rupert, you got to get over."
It's why like Mystique is the best ex person to date.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you kidding me? I mean, even if it was Morph, I'd do it because he could do whatever he wants.
Yeah,
you know what I
why
mean?
not?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know about the genitals, but so yeah, so everything in this movie to me was like it I'd say every 5 minutes you can find a monstrous flaw in logic.
Yeah.
Were the Woods cursed for her car? Like I get the idea that the Woods are keeping in the fairies.
Yeah.
But that means that her car doesn't work. Like they don't check the house. Everyone's okay with being there. They think you're going to die if you go out at night, but they think the guy's coming back. She doesn't understand. She still is like confused that it's not her husband that's there at the door, even though she asked him a question that he can't answer for no reason.
Yeah, she's like, hell, oh, that's got to be like Darren or whatever his name is.
Yeah, I know. So all of this doesn't make sense. I did read a thing of the comparison of the book. There were some differences, but they weren't enough to really make any of this stuff make sense. I think maybe they left out some of the context. And the truth is, maybe in the book, they do bring up the hatred between changelings and humans more often. Because if that is the crux of the moment where they reveal to the changeling that she's a halfling, then maybe that explains it. But
there's no parallel.
In the movie, there's nothing like that.
There's no parallel, and it doesn't connect back to the main character's story.
Not at all.
Where it's like, what if, just tweaking things within their framework, what if she discovers that this particular changeling that's an outcast did something horrendous to like the changeling society years ago, right?
Yeah.
And she's like she killed someone drunk driving and she's been on probation. She got away with it.
Yeah.
Because she has like, she's a Nepo baby or whatever. She's rich.
Yeah.
And she's able to like relate to the changeling at the end. Like, when you make a mistake and you fuck up in life, you just gotta like try to do better. You know, something.
We talked about the idea, you and I talked about it at the idea afterwards, that what if the movie was like, let's say it was a drunk driving accident.
Yeah.
And she has this immense guilt. And let's say the whole time people around her are pressuring her to forgive herself, right? You got to forgive yourself. You know, she's like, but I did this to this family. I ruined this family. And they're like,
don't worry, just get a changeling. You could duplicate the whole family.
What about their personalities? Yeah. No, but they're like, you gotta forgive yourself. She finally, let's say she saves the barbarian girl or whatever. And at the end, she finally forgives herself. But then she also realizes she accidentally lets the changeling out in the world, and it's way worse.
She's responsible for that.
Yeah, and your idea was that we see her at the White House. Remember that?
The
changeling at the White House, the old woman going in to take over for the president, and that her guilt gets worse, which I think is really funny. I love that idea. I just thought of the idea. So the professor's in there. He has the Playboy. He's like holding up, and it's turning into the Playboy thing, and he's like flipping out. He's jacking off. So the next day, he's like reading it, and then he's like, "Wait a minute!" He's cutting out the head of Jennifer Aniston. He's doing each body part.
He's like making like a Frankenstein.
He's making a Frankenstein of his perfect woman. He's holding it up to the changeling. That's fucking hilarious. That's really, really funny.
He's like, I am going to be so fucking rich.
Now
that would actually be good.
And at the end, it says the Watchers, and then a colon comes up, and it says Weird Science too.
What about this? Right? Hold on.
Yeah.
I'm making a completely new movie now. All right.
Yeah. Please do.
All right. So there's like this weird like exclusive club, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like you can be with any fucking woman you want, like no matter what she looks like.
Yeah.
And it's like there's this weird like pimp like guy, but he's almost like kind of the devil.
Yeah.
And you really don't know what it is, and like it's like a weird like sex dungeon thing where like people describe their ideal woman.
Yeah.
And eventually this guy keeps going back because he falls in love with like his like dream girl, right?
Yeah.
And he lets it loose, and it turns out that it's like a changeling brothel. Like this bad guy had been enslaving them.
Yeah, like it wants revenge. Like it's a wild animal. And when it was chained up in this dungeon, it just kind of accepted life that way. But now it's out, and it's gonna get revenge. Yeah,
and it's like it's out in like this fucking like dream sex dungeon with like all these like Johns basically, and you could even have chicks who like go like rich elite like old ladies who like they want to bang like Glenn Powell or whatever, you know?
Yeah. Colin Powell?
Yeah. It's a weird one, but yeah.
Yeah, like Westworld.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like you fucking get them all to break out and like
I like that. That's good.
That's cool with changelings, I think, right?
I think we do a lot more with changelings than they do.
I think the thing with changelings that everyone goes to right away is like, how am I fucking this thing?
Of course, apparently. I mean, in your head, you originally thought this guy created a halfling just to turn into his wife. What? So they could hang out during the day? He's gonna have sex with his changeling daughter?
No. Yeah, see, I thought that like. I thought that the old lady became the changeling, and then maybe like his baby wants to look like his mother.
This is quite a walk.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Why is there a halfling?
I think that a long time ago, if you remember in the story, the humans and the changelings existed together in harmony.
Okay.
Remember, that's how it started. So they might have had some.
So how old is the old lady? Is she thousands of years old?
I guess. Yeah, I think so.
And what was the thing stopping her from going to the ocean before?
This is another logical thing. Is if her thing is, I just want to leave the woods and go take over the world. By the way, part of this that we've kind of left out of this, I believe, is that the changelings hate the halflings.
Yes, they do. She's like bullied almost.
So why doesn't she just leave? If she can, you know what I mean? Like, is she actually
She
stuck
looks
there?
like the old lady.
If she's, or maybe if she goes out at night, she needed the boat too, maybe.
Oh, maybe because they would kill her?
If they would, I don't know if they would. It's hard. It's so hard to tell because we don't know what happened before this movie. Where did he catch her? How did he catch her? Because she's the one in the cage in the basement. Where did he get her?
Unless it's his daughter.
And the thing is, put it this way though. If they would kill her, where did she live before he built the structure?
Yeah.
That's why this movie is fucking crazy. It's ridiculous how
Well,
many
did
problems
he
there
just
are.
build the structure and then he was able to catch her later?
But where did she live before that happened?
Oh, what was she doing? Yeah.
If the old woman can't leave the structure to escape the forest, what was she doing before there was a structure?
For potentially thousands of years.
That's why this movie is fucking. This movie has more logical problems than it does lines of dialogue. It's fucking
Yeah.
insane. It doesn't make any sense. All these things fall apart. And it sucks because it's one of those things. It's a Jenga tower built on mysteries that never get answered, or get answered in a way that contradicts other parts of the lore.
It's one of those things with M. Night Shyamalan movies where like the mystery is either gonna land, and this is just like her dad. It's either gonna land and it's gonna be like an alt-timer that's fucking great and memorable, like Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Or you're gonna get like the fucking happening. We're like, it's the fucking trees.
Yeah,
You know?
This one, I honestly think, and like I haven't seen every M. Night Shyamalan movie. I haven't
Okay.
seen Old.
I liked Old. It was fine.
I haven't seen Lady in the Water.
I liked it, but I saw it years ago.
I think there's one more.
There's
I
one
haven't
thing
seen.
in Lady of the Water which I think is such like the biggest like, can you suck your own dick harder? There's a scene where the woman or Paul Giamatti has to talk to the greatest writer in the world, and it's played by M. Night Shyamalan. Where it's like, get the fuck out of here.
So, outside of the ones that I haven't seen, because I haven't seen them, this movie is worse than any M. Night Shyamalan movie I've seen.
Did you see The Happening?
I did, but The Happening, which I think is an unsatisfying ending, I don't think it has as many logical flaws as this movie.
No, it definitely makes more sense.
This movie is just like, this movie is to me
It's a mess.
unbearably bad. It's insane from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
And again, I think well
I was
directed.
along for the ride for most of the movie.
Well directed. The tone is fun. The cinematography is great. In terms of this director, from a cinematography standpoint, awesome. I think great job, especially as your first movie. I think excellent job. But these logical flaws are so fucking insane. Like no one can explain this to me. I could write them down and it would be fucking 20 problems and I'd be like, explain how this happened. Why did the woman stay in the woods? And if you say, well, she's bullied by the other changelings, so she can't leave. Okay, what happened before the structure? Where was she before the structure? Explain that part to me. It does none of this makes sense.
You need answers for things like this. You shouldn't be leaving your movie with so many things where me and you are just like puzzled by how everything exists.
Exactly. There's so many things in this. And so it's weird because I rarely walk out of a movie disappointed to the point where I'm like annoyed and searching for answers because I scoured YouTube for reviews and book comparisons.
Seeing if it was you.
Seeing like I can see a movie like this. I'll put it this way. It seems like, and I don't know if you feel the same way, in books, it's a lot more common to walk into a situation with characters that accept something really strange and that's how they live.
Yeah.
Like a novella. And so I can see the watchers kind of, it's to us, it's weird watching a movie where these three people are like, we live in this structure and they're kind of okay with it. In a book, it seems a little bit more believable. And sometimes there's stuff in a book that doesn't translate to the movie, as we all know. I thought maybe there was stuff in the book that was left out that would give us some context.
That'd fill everything in.
You know, but it really doesn't seem like there's that much. Again, maybe they just hit on how much the changelings and humans hate each other.
And the other thing that doesn't make sense is like, okay, so down this hole, right? Going back to the whole scene, there's like the bike and all this. The old woman, if she wants to get away, why would you throw the bike back down?
I know. Of course. Of course.
Like,
well, she says in the movie that it's because they're attacking the structure now and she's trying to make things cool again. But if they do wake up the next day during the day, which they did, then take that bike and get the fuck out of here. If she's desperate to leave, then and she wants to kill the rest of them anyway eventually, then why wouldn't she just leave?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't she just be like, I'm going to take the bike, and if the fucking changelings flip out on these people again tonight and break down the structure, good, fuck them. That's what she would say if she felt like she wanted to kill them, which she does at the end.
Yeah.
So it's just a mind-bogglingly convoluted logistical issue. You know what I mean?
Did you see M. Night Shyamalan? I think it was his last movie, the one with Batista.
No, I didn't see that one yet. Cabin in the Woods
Yeah.
or Knock in the Cabin.
Knock in the Cabin.
No.
Okay.
How was it?
I thought it was really good.
I think Trap looks fucking awesome.
That's the new one, right?
Did you
With
see the
Josh
trailer
Hartnett?
for it?
I didn't see it yet. I'll see it though.
Do you know what do you know what it's about?
You told me, and I thought it sounds fucking cool.
It sounds fucking awesome. And I'm guessing, and I have this is just off the top of my head, you know, the trailer sets up the fact that it's essentially an equivalent of a Taylor Swift concert, and the dad is Josh Hartnett, and he takes his daughter to it. And by the way, quick side note, I just went to go see Paul Scheer in Brooklyn with our buddy Jimmy, the hair guy. And he's like, I've been working on a documentary. He's like, this is the first time I'm showing the trailer. I've never shown it anywhere. We're still waiting on word from Taylor Swift if she wants to be part of it. And it's called Swiftie Dads. And it's a documentary about all the dads taking their daughters to the Taylor Swift concert.
Oh, that's cool.
Which I think is cool. It's like probably like a feel good, fun, fluffy
and
thing.
Jimmy was like, fuck, I wish someone would take me to a Taylor Swift concert. When you gonna take
and he
me,
kind of like elbowed me.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but like, so this is kind of also the Trap, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie, is also playing into it. Josh Hartnett's a dad. It's kind of played up as a feel good thing at first. He brings his daughter into the concert. He goes, hey, I'll be right back. I'm running to the bathroom. And he's looking around. He sees all these policemen and all these police cars outside. And he goes to his friend that works there. And he goes, hey, what's up with all the police here? And the guy says, I'm not supposed to tell anyone, but I'll tell you. You know the butcher? And he's like, that person that's been killing all those people recently around the town. He goes, they say that they know that he's here tonight and that no one's leaving without getting checked. And they're going to catch the booker tonight. The entire concert is a trap. And so you're like, oh, cool. So they're in this weird situation where they're stuck with a serial killer in this arena. Then Josh Hartnett goes in the bathroom, logs into his security cameras, and you see that he has someone tied up at his house, and his face is like masked in red. And, you know, it's like he's the butcher, and he's like, how is he going to get out? My call for the twist is that he is not the butcher somehow. And maybe it's
the butcher has like someone he loves, like his wife or something.
I thought more of like the original Saw, where
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, he's Zepp. He's being forced to keep this. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Sorry, yes, he's being forced to keep someone for the butcher because the butcher has something over on him.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
they should just put the Saw song in, which is Hello Zepp, which is like the great.
You know what's funny? They use that whole soundtrack for the Tom Cruise Nazi movie.
In Valkyrie?
It's the whole soundtrack.
Oh, really?
It's in the trailer for Valkyrie. It's a whole. It's bananas.
It was in like car commercials too and shit.
I read about it, and they were able to pay the person who made that theme way less to make the theme by letting them keep the rights to it and let them license it to other things. Did you know that?
Isn't that? I did. That's great.
It's fucking hilarious. But yeah, so I think that movie's gonna be awesome, and I generally like I think Sixth Sense is awesome. I think Signs is really good.
I like Signs.
I think Unbreakable is great.
I'm not the biggest Unbreakable fan.
Did you like Split?
I did like Split.
Split was good, and
then
Glass
he fucked it up with Glass.
Glass was okay. I mean, I really appreciate the concept of Glass, and I think the execution was pretty poor.
I was really bummed. Like, really, I'm watching Bruce Willis drown in a fucking puddle.
I know, it was a bum out, but yeah. So Watchers was fucking. It was mad. I can't believe how much time I dedicated to trying to find the answers to the questions that it posed.
More than they did.
Oh, way more, and way more time than watching the movie for sure. But yeah, man, it was crazy.
And you didn't find any answer.
Nothing. And again, maybe you're missing out by not actually reading the book. Maybe that would give you a little bit more context. But in terms of just straight up facts and comparisons, the story is not that different at all. But yeah.
What would you recommend this one?
I don't think I would. I don't think I would. It's like, it's really, I can't believe how poorly laid out it is. It's always shocking to me how much stuff dies before it gets to the green light phase. In terms of like, this person had this concept and they couldn't get funding, whatever. And the stuff that sometimes does make it all the way through to a theater. And you're like, 1 million people watch this and we're like, yup, cool, sounds good. Like, not saying like, how did this? What about this? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. That's the first. It's crazy to me. It's crazy.
I think it was because it was a really good trailer. You know, where it's like you kind of show this weird concept. They're applauding for you, Mina. You know, and like she has to stand in front of the glass, and it's like,
I know
it's an easy sell, but it didn't make money. And I think that's probably because it was lacking a punch where people go nuts and like, I just saw this crazy movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most people walked out feeling the exact same way.
Yeah.
It was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why did that creature care at the end that it's a human?
It cost 30 million and it made 30.8 million, which after, marketing and all that, it was a loss.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. Crazy, man.
But that's it.
Yeah, man.
We
That's
reviewed
good.
2 horror movies. We had some fun.
Yeah,
You
I'm
want to
glad-
plug your show one more time?
Yeah. Funbearable is the podcast. We're doing our 100th episode live at the Comedy Connection in East Providence, Rhode Island on Sunday, July 21st. So come on out if you're in New England, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, obviously. Funbearablepod.com to check out the podcast. Check out Rupert's episode. It was a Christmas
We
episode.
pitch you a Merry Christmas Part 2.
Yeah, we pitch you a Merry Christmas Part 2. And funbearablepod.com will also have links to tickets, all our recent episodes. We have episodes with Walton Gedham from Tell 'em Steve Dave, of course, Mark Norman, Joe List, Mike Cannon, and a bunch of panels with like Jason Lee, the cast of Clerks, a lot of stuff like that. So a lot of fun
Ninja
stuff there.
Turtles cast?
The whole Ninja Turtles cast from the original series, the whole Futurama cast. So good stuff. Yeah, man. But thanks for doing this.
No,
Because
this was fun.
we had big talks about both of these movies. And we're like,
It was
we gotta
kind of
sit down.
like, it was fun to do it with you, and you were bringing up like you had that crazy idea about like she's like the president at the end. I was like, oh yeah, I did have that idea. I still like it.
I know, me too. I think that would be that's the way to make the watchers work. Focus on her guilt, make the guilt more real as opposed to her just being a little kid, and make the entire journey for her getting over the guilt. And then the last moment is her taking on a mountain of more
You
guilt.
fucked the whole world up.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. That's funny. I like that. That would have been satisfying. And at least like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we would have walked away being like, all right, that's the story, But what are you going to do?
Not everyone is a home run, so
Yeah,
maybe we'll do
exactly.
this again at another time. But
Yeah, I'm down
hope you
anytime.
enjoyed it. We'll see you next time, guys. Bye.